Call this meeting to order, the Griggs County Commission. Stand what?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you say the date, please?
Huh?
Say the date.
Oh yeah. August 26th, 2016. Take roll. John.
Here.
Dale.
Here.
Ron.
Here.
DeTom. Here. Troy's here. Okay, approval of the agenda.
The two meetings, there's one special meeting before the other special meeting, so which
That's
agenda?
This is the first one.
This is the agenda for the beer liquor license?
The other one.
The other one.
This is a non-alcoholic special meeting.
Okay, well,
It's an old rules.
yeah, so that's the one we got the budget and the report on.
Yep.
And everything. Yeah, I'll move to approve the agenda.
It's been moved by Ron to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, 2017 budget. Who wants to start? Ron?
I can, I'll just,
Is there,
I'll give just a real general overview, and then I'll have Samantha kind of go to page B7. And county commissioners, we just sort of read it through there. But just some general comments on page A2, schedule A page 2. And you know, these aren't the final numbers by any means yet. But last year we did levy $1,966,000. Right now we're looking at a lower number, but I know it's not right. But all I want to say is I think we will not have be in trouble with the zero increase number of mills. I think by the time we're all done screwing around here, we're going to have it with the zero increase.
no, one of the reasons is because the mill is going to be worth more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, mill has gone up 5% roughly, or 4.5%.
4 was it, or 3?
Anyway, so with that said, Ron, I'm looking at this on Schedule E,
Okay.
where the 17 amount levied on most of these has gone down. How can that be?
Are you on page A2?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's see, 20, like Historical Society, it's going, it was 45.99, it's going up to 49.25.
Right.
And then the next one, it was 36, it's going up to 39.
Yep.
It was 73, going up to 78. It was 18, going up to 19. Libraries were all up probably. Well, that's probably wrong last year.
And the Nelson County Health District, that's a budget number. I suppose that we don't know that number yet.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I just threw in
Okay.
3,000 because I thought it would be.
I was looked at the library and I thought, well, if they ask for 4 mills, they're going to get it.
Yeah, yeah. So that number.
7.5%.
Oh, yeah, with the Hannaford. Yep. Made it go up some damn much.
Oh.
That added $25 million to
Yeah.
overall value. So,
Sure.
Okay, that's right.
Wowie.
So
So
anyway,
these
we're
fixed ones are,
what's that?
there's the fixed ones will increase no matter what.
Yeah, and that's where when we figure the zero increase number of mills, what is it, they subtract out new growth or something?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so on that formula, that will be I imagine that will be subtracted out
I would think so.
to calculate.
Oh,
yeah, it will be. So by the time you're all said and done, it works out to about 2% is where the zero increase will be, because it isn't a true zero mill increase, it isn't a true $0 increase, it's a hybrid in between. And then you have to factor in
your valuation.
the social services operates on a different formula than the rest of the of the county also. And they're basically held to 2014 dollar numbers.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get a copy for each of you.
Yeah, they're by the time, like.
Because the state wanted to get to a point where they could determine exactly what it was costing to run social services, because ultimately they were going to take it over. So they fixed that number there so that for budgeting purposes.
So they can get a hard number.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
So I think we should wait probably on talking on the revenues and the transfers and that sort of thing.
okay.
And I think if Samantha can just lead us to page B7, probably good.
Yeah. So B7 is county commissioner's budget. Is everybody gonna stay zero again for next year?
And that's something I really do want to talk. And I just want to throw this out as an idea. We've got 3 office deputies, possibly 4 office deputies. And in the back of my mind, I've been toying with the idea of moving the 3 office deputies or the 4 office deputies into the county commissioner's budget and out of each department. And moving them probably into the new auditor's office. And they would be a secretarial pool. And so if someone comes in and needs help, they could cover the sheriff too, and probably the state's attorney. And it might take more than 3 of them, but I just wanted to, it's something that I've thought about in the back of my mind. It's got pros and cons, I guess, but I just want to make everyone aware that, personally, I think it's a good idea, but I know it'll cause a lot of turmoil, I'm sure too, because, and as a rule, like with Lori, we probably just immediately assign Lori to you. But if she wasn't busy sometime, obviously she could do something for somebody else. And Jessica, the same thing. If she would probably primarily be assigned to Kelly, but if she didn't have anything to do with Kelly, she could work for you or work for the treasurer. And the same with Bob Hook's stuff. He would just bring that stuff up to the secretarial pool, and hopefully there would be one of the 3 available to work on it. If they weren't, then we could take action accordingly. So I'm just throwing it out for a discussion.
Yeah, it's,
Hopefully they're doing that now. But, I mean, I don't know.
If somebody else needs help in the other offices, we kind of go to the other secretaries first to see if they've got some time and if they would be willing to step in and could you help me with this, and we've already been doing that.
Mm-hmm. And I know we got an email from Kelly today explaining some of the problems with it. And it seemed like something like that would help solve most of the problems.
Well, I think a lot of it is just because there's nobody over there right now. Mm-hmm. So then when somebody comes over there and there's nobody, like Jamie hasn't had a secretary for quite a while, and so then they come to us. I mean, I've had just a few walk-ins, nothing bad, but even just a few, but a lot of them go to Kelly wanting, fingerprinting and
yeah, and some of them, like with the new secretarial pool, it'll be if a member of the public came in, they would say, I don't know who I need to talk to.
Yeah.
Here's my problem. And that person could say, well, let me take you over to the treasurer's office handles that, or the recorder handles that, or somebody, or the tax director or somebody handles it. But there would be someone there all the time.
In a central area.
Yeah, there'd be someone to answer questions from the public, and it would never be empty. And even at noon, it could probably be open. Also, if somebody comes in, they can ask a question.
yeah, I don't think we're starved for lack of labor. I think it's a delegation of duties that's getting in the way. No one wants to step outside what they perceive their duties, and I understand that the recorder has certain duties, the treasurer has certain duties, the auditor has certain duties, but those duties are not that of the deputy. The deputy could be assigned permanently to the county commission, but on loan to whatever department needs them, and then there wouldn't be any dispute over how do we get this work done that needs to be done for the citizens of Griggs County. the perception is from the email that I received this morning is that you should hire somebody else. And I don't think that's the case. I think there's enough labor force here, it just hasn't been delegated.
Yeah, and there's, for example, what Connie right now is doing, the DX forms.
Right.
And I personally think that's the recorder's job. But at any rate, if that was assigned to the secretary of pool, someone in that secretary of pool would get the work done. Whether it's the recorder's work or the treasurer's work, that person would get it done, and it wouldn't be sloughed off on the treasurer if it's not the treasurer's job. You wouldn't have to worry.
Well, would the fact that the DX form, the title of it is recorder's DX form, tell you that it's probably the recorder's job?
Well, I sort of,
That is the title of the form, by the way.
that was a clue.
So, yeah, I mean, but an elected official, we cannot tell the elected official what to do. That is the contract they have with the electorate. But the deputies certainly are to be hired by the county commission, and they're supposed to serve the public. And I don't see any reason why we couldn't delegate it that way. I don't think it would change the way the courthouse operates one bit. I think every office would still have their assigned deputy. It would just be that there would be more willingness to step outside that role and help for things that help.
I would guess different departments have heavier workloads at different times of the year too, so it should
I mean,
kind
they're,
of cohesive.
the only thing is, who are you gonna put in charge of that group? I'm not gonna be a permanent employee of the courthouse.
There could, I suppose, one of the, if there's, because the other one we didn't talk about was the county agent secretary that possibly could move in there. But there should be, I suppose, one that's designated office manager, more or less, or secretarial pool manager. And when the work comes in, she's probably the one that she knows what the other two or three are doing, and what their skills are, and what their time is.
Does it need to be structured that strictly? I don't know. Just the fact that there is a pool would probably put an end to this. It's not my job. I'm not doing it.
I get that part.
Yeah.
If we could make that go away, it wouldn't be necessary.
Right. That's the point.
I get it.
But as you saw by that email this morning, that's not going away.
That's probably more part of logistics. There's nobody there, and then they come over here.
Yep. Probably, but
But when everybody's in there, they, well,
Right, but the point is, and when I replied to that email, the fact that it's not very smoothly operating the way it is right now, doesn't mean we should change anything, because we're not planning to stay this way forever. So it'd be pretty short-sighted to go hire people, or a person, or whatever it would take, to make that go away, when hopefully 6 months from now we're all under the same roof. I mean, I don't even understand the whole discussion taking place in this.
I mean, every employee of the county is working for the citizens of Griggs County. It shouldn't make any difference.
I know.
It shouldn't make a difference what job they're doing. And no doubt, the elected officials answer to the electorate, not to the county commissioners. But the deputies could answer to the public in general. And if the holdup in answering to the public is the elected official not allowing that to happen, then we need to remove that obstacle.
I get it.
Yeah. And it isn't like there hasn't been some patience on this. We've been going through this for quite some time, and it just keeps rearing its head again.
Yeah, it probably would help some for that end of the building, the sheriff's office and the state's attorney, because if there isn't a receptionist there, if there's just a sign that says, no matter who you want, come to this area. If they want the sheriff or state's attorney, they can say, well, he isn't in right now, or something like that. But it isn't very good now if we're not gonna have a receptionist down there. Well, if they walk down there, what do they do, ring a doorbell? I mean, not ideal, but, you know.
I mean, if you, like you said, if you had a secretarial pool in where the auditor's office is now in the new building, that's the primary place people walk up to. It could be handled from there. There would always be someone there, and whether they're working for the auditor, the treasurer, the treasurer, the recorder, it doesn't make a difference. But if that can't happen willingly, then it will have to be handled a different way. At some point, that decision has to be made, because this isn't the first time, or the second, or the third, or the fourth time this has come up. It keeps coming up over and over and over again.
I don't know that the commissioner's budget would be the place. I mean, wouldn't you set up a different,
It wouldn't matter.
I mean, you just set up a new budget, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean,
Because you're gonna reduce the budgets of all the officials, and then you would have this budget.
yeah, it doesn't matter where it's set up. I think Ron just used that because,
Right.
I assume because the commissioners are going to be ultimately in charge of it, which they are anyway.
They are anyway, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I wish it wouldn't be necessary, but it's proving as we move along here to be necessary. And it probably would never be where you'd actually have to manage it. Just the fact that you could would probably solve the problem.
Yeah, so I guess, should we just think about it until,
You can do that.
Yep.
because I'm not really.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it yet.
Okay.
I can, up until this point anyway, but because I can see there would be some things to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move on.
Yep.
On that one though, still the pay is the same for next year.
County commissioners,
Yeah,
still zero.
okay,
I want a 10% increase.
you got it.
It's one of the few things that any of my constituents have ever had a beef with me about, is that we don't get paid.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've had like 3 or 4 different guys who brought that up, they don't think that's right. As far as going down the road when somebody else comes, that there's never gonna be a number in that budget.
Well,
Oh, we're eliminating the competition by not paying ourselves because nobody else is willing to do it.
Maybe. It's,
Well, they can change that.
yeah, but that's one of the few things that multiple people have brought to my attention.
Tell them if they don't like it, we may impose a charge on each commissioner to pay $3,000.
Well, I mean,
I guess I've heard it a couple times.
I mean, I get it too, but
Yeah.
it's not from a lot of people. It's just.
I guess their concern was it makes the position unappealing to people that don't have the resources to just drop whatever they're doing and go.
It makes it unappealing for those that want to be in it for the money.
Yeah.
And there's some of them that really looked at this as a pretty good source of income.
Yeah.
Especially with special meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter for 2017, but yeah, it's probably something we'll have to consider. Prior to another election or something.
yeah, it would. I guess it doesn't. It really doesn't matter to me. I would refuse the salary anyway.
I look at it as a public service.
Public servant. That would.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting point.
I don't plan on doing it until I'm 80. So
Or
I think it's just fine that we do it with no compensation, and someday somebody else can take their turn at it. That's how I look at it. The elected officials, it's not supposed to be a job.
No.
I mean that's what weakens the whole system, as these guys go into Bismarck or Washington D.C. more prevalently, and that's their job for the rest of their life.
That's your career.
Yeah. It spoils the system because they're not there for the right reason. I just don't like it.
And I guess would a salaried county commissioner better serve the electorate? I don't know what the question, the answer to that is.
I mean, it isn't enough that that makes a difference, you know.
I don't know.
Well, we can think about that too.
I suppose it's something that can be funded, but if it isn't used, you just.
But you're right, it won't matter this year.
Right, there's 27, so it's not gonna matter.
Right.
Okay, go on.
Yep.
District court.
And what we did there, we took the 20, the amount requested was a higher number. That might have been the 5%. But we just took the 16 salary and added 0.2% to it.
You just use the.
Yeah, the colon number. So
Okay.
what that is, I put it as a plug number in, but right now we're looking at a 0.2% increase over the 20,653. So it's
Sure.
like $40 or something. And I believe all the other numbers were what they requested in 2016. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Auditor.
We good there? Auditors.
I know the same thing, 0.2% for
Salaries.
salaries, and I imagine we look to approve everything they requested otherwise.
Yeah. I may as well raise this point now before, because it's gonna come up in every one of them. The travel budget for all these different positions is supposed to be for the purpose of training. But a lot of the travel, a lot of this goes, you go to attend the state auditors convention or the state treasurer's convention or the state recorder's convention. And if you look, and then those groups actually go and lobby the legislature for positions that they think are beneficial to the group as a whole. Unfortunately, most of the time, the lobbying position is not beneficial to the taxpayer. Most of the time, what they're lobbying for is a legislative change that will cost the taxpayer money. The recorders, for instance, this year are going to go lobby the legislature for an increase in fees that they charge the public for processing documents. Now, that's fine. The elected official should have the ability to go out there if he or she deems that is beneficial to the people that are going to ultimately elect he or she. But is it proper for the taxpayer to buy the rope to hang themselves with? And that's pretty much runs through all these travel budgets, where what is the benefit of traveling out there? Now, no doubt they tie the training into the organization, but it's still the government, the bureaucracy, having their thumb on the process and trying to manipulate it for the benefit of the bureaucracy and not for the benefit of the public. If Troy goes to a bankers convention, he pay. If I go to a egg piles convention, I pay for the fees to go to the convention because I think that's benefiting my job. When they go to a convention to try to lobby, to influence the government to take money away from the very taxpayers that are paying to go to the convention, I don't think that's a good use of taxpayer money. And that's prevalent through all these budgets.
I don't know how you sort that out. I mean, you do have to provide training.
Mm-hmm. food for thought. I mean, it takes place regularly, and like I said, I don't appreciate my tax dollars going for someone to go to lobby to try and tell the legislature to take more money from me.
I hear you. Unless the recording fees are higher, in which case, if the people that were getting things recorded paid more, there would be less need for. If the levy went down at the same time, it would be then people who are paying for it, be the people that are using it. But who can do that math?
So where does that ultimately stop? With toll roads? I mean, if that philosophy goes all through government, then every service is provided by government has to be paid for by all the people using it.
Ultimately, the system would be more efficient if that were the case.
It certainly would. But you raised a good point. That does an increase in fees lower the budget to that?
That's right.
And it probably, if it does,
It could.
but it doesn't. Typically, it happens. So, not saying we have to change it, I just want to make everyone aware of what some of these line items that we're funding actually can involve.
Now, from that standpoint, I think rather than doing something carte blanche with the funding source, then I think that's a policy issue. That's something that should be a policy made by the county commissioners on how those funds are expended. I don't think there's any reason why that can't be controlled.
Sunshine has a cleansing effect.
Right. I get it. But if there was a policy, the auditor would then have the ability to control those expenditures because they wouldn't get a voucher. So. Yep. Okay.
Good on that one? Treasurer?
Same thing, with 0.2%, whatever they requested for the $15.
Okay.
State's attorney?
So state's attorney, yeah, that was probably the same thing, 0.2%, whatever.
You plan on hiring somebody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, recorder?
Yeah, that one, I see, she didn't put in travel there, but she did in document preservation, I think.
Yeah, that's where she transferred those numbers, yeah.
So, and that's what that's where the lobbying will come in to raise the fees, obviously.
With the changes at the Secretary of State's office, that's not going to change the labor requirements for that position?
We discussed that, and Ron can answer that.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that it will this year. It still appears that the revenue, and I can't figure out exactly how they get the revenue, but the revenue is about that revenue for the clerk of court, or for the clerk of court.
My question was a labor requirement, not a revenue.
You're right, the labor requirement has dropped. The revenue still will cover the recorder's budget. So the amount of money the state's giving us is still going to cover.
Yeah, and that's for district court rather than recorder.
Yeah, excuse me, district court is what we're talking about.
Yeah, going back to
Yeah.
district court.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about clerk of court, I was talking about recorder.
Well, the recorder, that's never been based on revenue at all, really.
No, but he's talking about the record. He's talking about.
State doing
Go
part
ahead.
of the job.
Oh,
County doesn't record documents anymore for the Secretary of State. It's all done. It's all done online. And I mean, we do our own lien searches. We don't go through the county anymore.
Well, that's the one, in the century code, it calls for a document, for recording a document, the law requires that they charge $10 for a document.
For the first page and $3 for each additional page. But you're talking, when you're doing that though, Ron, those are the documents that are kept at the county. That's what they're referring to there.
Right.
They're talking about mortgages, satisfactions, deeds. They're talking about things that are attached to real property.
Yeah.
So what I'm talking about is a lot of the banks used to file their UCCs through the counties, and they can't do it anymore. The county doesn't, the Secretary of State won't allow that to happen. So all of
Those duties.
UCC filings for crop liens and all those things are done directly with the Secretary of State. And we, at the bank, you go online and do the lien searches and everything. So it seems to me that there's less activity in that office than there ever was.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking the question.
Which is another very good argument for the secretary.
Yeah, it sure is.
Rather than cut someone's salary in that office, why not just leave the salary the same and just assign duties to make up for what duties were?
Right.
Yeah, and that's if it was under the county commissioner's discretion, we could take a more active role in determining just exactly what.
I hear you.
Deputy recorder.
But I
does
just-
at their time.
The day-to-day management of that thing just scares me, unless somebody can tell me how it's going to work. I mean, the only thing I can think of is the auditor's in charge of the secretarial pool, or somebody.
Well,
But unmanaged, it would be any different than it is now. There can't be a worse effect than now.
That may be.
yeah, but either the auditor or an office manager, if we felt the need to do that,
Well, just the ability that we could manage it I think would be enough to put it back in a place where everybody is pulling in the same direction.
Possibly.
Possible.
Anyway, some of the revenue, the thing that, and this is just it makes me mad. It used to cost us $10 to file the UCC.
for the first page, for the whole thing.
UCCs are one page most of the time, unless there's an addendum. Now they're 40 or something. Well, the $40, the county still gets 10, but we don't touch them. Didn't affect the revenue still coming from the state,
Yeah.
but it's just being extorted from the people that have to file the UCC,
I agree with you. Yeah.
which is the bank, which is the customer, because we charge the customer for filing those documents.
So what is the decreased workload of the auditor's office because of the change in the law?
Recorder.
Recorder's
Yep.
office.
Don't know that. That's my question.
Yeah, it's me. You want me to answer?
You're the recorder now.
Well.
You weren't here before.
Not on the agenda for this, but it hasn't really affected our office at all.
You know,
As far as, nothing. We still receive UCC 3As, not very often, but I mean, it's not.
There's not very many UCC 3As filed,
There's
period.
not very many.
No.
I've got an increase in them since the change, but that increase is minimal. But it hasn't affected we still have plenty of work to do. It really just, it's not something I've managerial noticed at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, UCCs, the thing about UCCs is they're not very time consuming. I mean, they're fairly quick to file them, to scan them, to put them away. It's just one of those things that you have to have. So if somebody walks in with a UCC, you got to be there to file that.
but is it either or now? The bank files them online or they can be filed at the
No,
recorder's
it's
office?
strictly filers have to do that themselves.
Right. So how many did you do last year? I mean, that'll.
Well, it's in the
determine-
monthly
Right, that'll determine what the workload decrease was.
Right.
Because it'll go from what it was to nothing.
I think the other thing that you need to take in consideration too is I did lose a deputy, and we still have plenty of work to do between the two offices. It's two different offices, two different functions.
The one office is, what, 4/10 of a person?
Well, according to their thing, but we are busy Monday through Friday answering phone calls, individuals. The unfortunate thing about the way that they do it is they don't include phone calls, emails, the individuals at the counter, which is probably where you spend most of the time with those cases. So, court time is not included in that either. File and serve is not included. File and serve is something we have to continually watch every minute of the day.
But the clerk of court has been completely taken out of the county. It's not even the century court anymore. That's nothing that we have control over at all. We just have control over the court. The clerk of court it's been banished from the century court as far as under the county stewardship, and so we don't even concern ourselves with that.
State provides the funding, the county has to provide the space.
Okay. Tax director.
Yeah. 2/10% on the salary, and whatever, probably just last year's numbers on the remainder.
Good there.
So you're proposing that we continue to search for somebody, or?
Yeah. Keep searching.
Okay.
Custodian.
That's kind of a hard one, because if we all get moved into that other courthouse, that other building,
It is a hard one.
what are we gonna, how much time are we gonna have them spend over here?
Yeah, it is a hard one, not much, but and then we got that
Additional 5,000.
5,000, and I can't remember exactly why we had that, I think.
Because we
We were in the
did,
same boat, weren't we?
same issue, I think.
We didn't know if we hadn't had any work done in there yet. I mean, no facility service was done, we didn't know what it was gonna cost. So we put $5,000 in the budget so that they could transition in there and use that money as was needed. Well, it still stays there now because we still don't, now we have a better grip on it, but we still don't know ultimately what's gonna cost.
Okay.
So, I don't, until we're moved in there, until we get a set number, I don't know how else to do it. And the way they charge us for it, the way that they're paid is any additional duties over and above what their duties were before, they then turn into
Overtime, so.
overtime.
Yeah. It's not overtime.
No,
but it's-
additional.
Additional funds, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, all we did was put the 0.2% on all three items, including the 5,000.
You left all the general expenses the same?
Well, we need to
Looks
talk about these,
Okay.
follow the truth, probably. Miscellaneous dues, $10,000, that's if we continue to belong to South Central Dakota Regional Council. If we choose to not remain with South Central, we could cut them in half.
Yeah. But probably until we make a decision, it can stay there.
That's all.
Well, I mean, until we make a decision, I assume that we'll make a decision before this budget is finalized. Even if it was finalized, the money would roll. It wouldn't be lost, it would just roll to the next year.
Right.
Okay. Elections, 10,000, there's no elections.
There's no election, it's only if we have a special election. I know that Cindy always kept some money in there just in case there's a special election.
In case we get recalled, we'll have money to pay for it.
Maybe we should get rid of the money.
And let's see, electricity, 12,000, I imagine, and water, telephone is 20, coal, I'm sure is gonna be less. less than 9,000, but we can leave it. Postage, copier, that's probably in line with the new copiers we're buying, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
170, we just left the reserve the same. Courthouse and grounds, we didn't spend very much of that at all, did we?
Courthouse and grounds.
Yeah, I think we just barely.
It says 65,000.
Well, it says 9,300 actual 2050.
Yeah.
I see now.
Backing up to the reserve ones, this is not to be confused with the emergency fund. But this is a lot more liberal as far as our uses for this reserve here. The emergency fund, it actually has to be an emergency caused by an event. And the event can't be neglect. The event has to be an actual storm or something like that. So I think it's far more beneficial to have it in this reserve here so that if we have a budget that runs short on money or there's unexpected expense that didn't get budgeted for, this money now can get moved to that point. So I don't think we should, the emergency fund, I think we should just not fund that at all and just let that continue going forward.
I don't even see it on here.
That's in.
It's in C.
Special revenue.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, that's why that was left, and we haven't used any of that reserve other than a couple $1,000. Is that right this year?
Reserve, we've used 1,750.
Okay.
But in that courthouse and grounds, we've used 24,152.
And that was the insurance payment. I'm quite sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought we had money in
Yeah, you
insurance.
you have money in the insurance. I'm not really, I'd have to do an account history of that. But.
The one job service, I imagine that could be, doesn't need to be there, does it? The line, well, I guess it isn't a line, job service.
Do you have it somewhere else?
Well, in the insurance reserve.
Insurance reserve.
We have it figured as a percentage back there.
Oh, okay.
So maybe, as far as I know, they can note it. I think it can
Should, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Job service.
There's 3 years after we make this payment, is that what it is?
But I mean, there's also $12,000 being paid out of the social services budget for the building too, correct? Yeah, so the building actually, they split it up, but it's actually $24,000 a year that's being paid rather than 12. They just make two $12,000 payments, one out of social services, one out of here.
That's the one, the building uptown, you mean? I suppose one was for the building and one's for the remodel.
There you go.
So I guess just leave it anyway.
But I don't see where there's two separate notes. I haven't found that yet. Where does that get paid? What's been taken out of that fund this year? That
The social services.
right.
You don't think they're two separate notes?
Can't find it.
Social services building. We have taken out $12,097.39.
And who was that paid to?
Citizen State Bank Holding Company, right?
Yeah.
This thing isn't on their books. It's at their holding company.
Social services, where are you making
Okay,
it?
so what you're saying is what's just for the building. We were making the payment just for the remodeling piece
And where are you
of it.
making that to?
And that, we made our last payment, and that was going to the bank in Toma, I believe.
Oh,
That's, and we're done with that now. We just finished it.
Yeah, because
So for the building, they never gave us anything for that part of it.
So in your social services budget, you don't have that $12,000 payment anymore?
You're right. That's not going to be in 2016.
I hadn't seen it yet. Okay. So this payment here then, this is the last payment, I think.
I thought
No, there's more.
Is it?
Because last year we at the big discussion, and I think there was,
You can't call the bank and find that out.
No, but I know.
You'd have to call Sayer.
No, I got it here.
Oh, so you got that note back from the bank?
I do not have it. Did it come to the auditor?
I don't know.
Or should I be calling and requesting it? We made the last.
Shouldn't have
payment.
to. That doesn't mean that we remember to send them out every time.
Okay.
Okay, there's $12,097 due in 17, and then the balance is due in 18, 11,871.
There's 2 payments.
There's 2 payments left. So this budget and one more.
I know this for.
Hmm?
Say, can you look, Griggs County, I think had 3 loans there. Can you tell me which one just got paid off recently, or at least in 2016? Hello, just Kalen? Kalen is right. Hey, can you look up Griggs County? Well, we just had a note that was paid off in 2016, I think. Is that correct? Okay. Was that note sent back? Yeah. You just have one post office box, don't you?
mm-hmm.
The county?
No, the county, like I've got my own for the auditor's office and stuff.
So there's more stuff that goes with the social services? Or social security, that is, okay. Yep. Okay. Must have went somewhere. Yep. Must have gone someplace, huh? Okay. Sounds good, thanks, Kevin. But they sent it somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe Sia would have filed it or something.
Yeah, I'll check and see if I remember getting it.
A satisfaction?
No, there will be no satisfaction, there's no mortgage. I don't know what, I think the security was a certificate of indebtedness, I think. Which,
Was already overdrafted.
huh?
Which was already overdrafted.
Right,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We good on there?
Okay, keep going.
Social Security.
Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Okay, IT.
Yeah, he took out, there was a server payment of that $10,789. And then we paid that off, he put in a new server fund of $5,000. And I don't know if we want to add that, he's not authorized to buy a new server until he gets permission. Just because there's $15,000 in the new server fund. Maybe we should put a note that says, must receive county commissioner approval before spending or something like that.
Yeah, or on condition.
He does that anyway.
No, he was changing them all on time.
Yeah, but no, we asked him not to do that anymore.
He usually comes up and will present stuff to you guys.
Because I mean, if they're not broken, why change them? They're not worth nothing either way.
Servers are one thing. That's a little bit of an animal. I think, wasn't he gonna give us a progression plan for our workstations? That was what we were changing those on time, and I see no value in doing that.
Well, I don't see a change in server on time either when we essentially have 3 backups. I don't see any reason in changing them out. I mean, until they quit, it's not like you're changing them out and you get to trade them in and you get value for what you traded in. Whether they're 5 years old or 10 years old, they're worth nothing.
Zero.
Yeah, normally. So that was the only point is
Okay.
we want that on, we think that should be on condition rather than time.
Then it probably should be budgeted in the general, in the reserve or something.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. Move it to the, we could have, do we have an equipment fund in the general?
I don't think so.
I think there is.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
In the county general, I guess. That page. Equipment is here, or equipment?
Just equipment, yeah. Equipment slash,
Can we do something with the server in the name so that if something does come up, I do remember that that's what that was for? If that's what you guys are kind of thinking.
Put the 5,000 there.
I don't know.
You put it with copier and equipment.
It's kind of similar, yeah, it just.
Well, I mean, either way, if Travis is willing to just, if he's willing to just consult us first, it's going to say where it's at.
Yeah,
Somebody should just ask him. I mean, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he will. Yeah.
Verify that.
Yeah. That'd be fine. Rather than lose it somewhere else.
Okay, insurance.
We should be safe there, I think, and we got premium and the new courthouse, and, some of those may come down, some we don't know for sure, so.
Yeah.
Well, we can get everybody in that building over there,
It'll come, the insurance coming down over there.
Yeah.
for sure, from social services.
Yep.
You better. Take a break.
Make a motion to take a 10-minute break. Sam, take over.
I'll second that motion. So I asked for everybody to vote, and everybody said yes.
Aye.
That works.
That wasn't exactly.
Call the meeting back to order.
there's such a big increase in workforce safety
Oh, yeah?
insurance.
Workman's comp.
Which budget are we on?
Insurance.
Oh, workman's comp went up considerably, 15% increases.
Oh, wow.
Correct?
Say that again.
Workman's comp was proposed to go up 15%, that's why we have the big increase there.
Correct. No, for safety, that is, I haven't seen seen an estimate this year, so I'm not entirely sure. Ron's just been going off a percentage for that.
But North Dakota workforce safety, that is workman's comp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's work.
That's workman's comp, and that's where we were having the big increase, proposed increase.
But even 15% is $1,200, $8,000.
Yeah, and that's the one, like, if you totaled up all the workforce safety costs, we're at about $23,000. And I think you said that's about what we paid, right? You're gonna check those numbers.
Yep.
And altogether, we pay about 23, because there's some in the road department and all that
Oh,
stuff.
Yeah.
okay.
So, the previous number might not have been right, especially distributing it to the roads and stuff. But,
Right.
now,
Oh, so it kind of jockeyed something.
yeah, now that
Okay.
we got some in county welfare board, some in roads mainly, and then the 911 operator and stuff.
PSOs and, yeah.
It looks like our total 23,000 is gonna cover what you normally pay for workforce safety.
Yep.
Okay. Sheriff.
And what we showed was the 0.2% increase for the sheriff and the 2 deputies. We didn't show the office deputy being over there. We did show, and all these have to be discussed obviously, we did show the 20,000 in overtime being moved over there. And then down below, we showed a decrease in major equipment from 6,000 to 3,000. And a new patrol vehicle, we did not move over there. The 32,500 for a new patrol vehicle, we did not put that there. So that's the main things that have to be discussed.
Right, he's gonna have to come talk about this deal anyway. Somebody is, right?
Yeah, I mean, the items to discuss are the patrol vehicle, the major equipment, the office deputy, and yeah, right now, the overtime has been just, we moved it over, and then as in every department, the raises. So, the number at the bottom of the page, the 198,871, is reflective of the 0.2% increase. It's reflective of a decrease in the major equipment by $3,000, and it's less patrol vehicle.
And office deputy.
Unless the office.
And office deputy. Yeah. So that's open to discussion. I mean, that's just.
Corner stays the same.
Yep. DES.
Yes, I don't know, we've got to discuss it, I guess. We're not getting much, I don't think I think Bob would admit he's not doing much there, and we haven't applied for any revenue yet, have we? So he hasn't turned in any time to the state.
Not that I'm aware of.
My first impression was that we could cut that in half. There wouldn't be any big loss at all, he's just not doing anything.
So we're reimbursed 50% of his budget, or 50% of the materials and supplies and 50% of the salary. It isn't, And these reimbursements are supposed to be applied for on a quarterly basis?
I don't know that.
To date, we haven't applied for any of them, so we haven't been reimbursed anything. We talked to Bob and he said he was going to get after that, but that hasn't happened. I don't know what service the DES, how much time that entails and what his duties are.
There's no statute?
Not to speak of. Not a time consideration anyway.
Yeah, it just said each county shall
Shall.
designate a DES officer. Because you're not the DES officer, right? In Nelson County,
No, I'm just a public information officer.
the spokesman for, if there's an emergency, you speak.
Right. So, it could very well be argued that if we would not have had a DES officer, the citizens of Griggs County wouldn't have been in the hook for the $4 million that we are right now. Because without that system in place, the grant, which was the driving factor, the free money behind the whole fiasco, without that, we probably wouldn't have been in this position. What does the DES do for us now? The policies are in place. It's administrating it. What does that cost to administrate it? And I guess actions speak louder than words. How much time does Bob actually put into it? And are we going to be reimbursed for the time that we're paying? I agree. I think there's probably a need for position, but I don't think it funded it. If we're going to lose half the budget because we don't get reimbursed, let's just lose half of half.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I don't know what you guys think. Dale,
We kind of need to know what he actually does, or if he's just collecting salary and not doing.
If we're getting reimbursed for half of the time that he puts into that position, he must keep track of his time.
Not that I've been able to see. I don't think there's ever been any.
You gotta send a request in though, right?
He hasn't done that thus far.
No, it's
Requesting.
Well, then how do we pay him for we don't pay him for being a DES director?
Oh, yes.
How do we pay him?
We write him a check and then we're supposed to be reimbursed, but by the state DES, he puts in a reimbursement request. So whether or not we get reimbursed makes no difference on whether he gets paid. He still gets paid the full amount. We're just not being
But
reimbursed.
if you
for
don't
that.
send a request
So
in,
he's
you're not
getting
gonna get,
$750 a month, or whatever the salary is in there?
Whatever that works out. Plus,
But he doesn't have to give us any hours
no,
to support that?
no, it's a salary. It's a straight salary. It's not an hours. And
just
then
in,
what he does as far as the DES, he just turns in a request to the DES for half his salary and half the expenses. So far, that hasn't been done. For 16, it hasn't been done, and it appears in 15 as the money came in more on a quarterly basis.
I can't remember.
So is that something that Samantha could send in a request? I mean, how simple of a deal
No,
is
the
it?
DES, the way I understand it, the DES director has to do that.
You don't have any information on the hours you work or anything else.
Because it's never been funded that way. It's just, the sheriff, the DES director is in charge of this budget. So we fund it like this. And we asked him for the revenue that we brought in.
We don't know what he sends in as a request.
Well, we know this year, from asking, there hasn't been any requests sent in this so far this year in 16.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I wonder what information the state asks for. That's my question.
I don't know.
That problem is complicated if I go back here. But it looks like the revenue, DEF reimbursement for 2015 was zero.
I know.
Yeah, I guess we need to investigate it some more, but we can think about cutting it in half. If Vaughn can be here to explain what he does to me.
Where is it on the audit here?
Well, it's in general fund.
So we didn't audit it.
No, that's just part of the general fund.
So we're not even sure that we got reimbursements in 15.
Well, we didn't for 2050, apparently. We got zero revenue.
I don't have those reports in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, just on the budget, what revenue says zero. So it must have been zero.
So, I mean, if that's the case, if we never received any revenue reimbursement in 15, and we haven't received any in 16,
Yeah, apparently that's good. None in 15, none in 16, and 16's two-thirds.
Yeah, I don't see anything in 2015.
Yeah, zero in 2015. Yeah. and
When I
zero-
post books as of December.
And zero in 2016. So, been a
Right,
while.
well, there is revenue in there now.
from 2016?
Yeah, 29,959, but that was for that mitigation plan.
Oh, okay.
Keep going, or some more discussion on this one?
I guess until we get.
I don't think we can have any, I think we're done with that one.
Superintendent of schools. Good with that one? Okay, grant, courtroom grant?
Yeah, this one. What I did, I plugged numbers, I put in the 4599 in the Pope glass man and KJ flooring, and we're gonna have to change that around a little bit. But anyway, I just put in 100,000 for concrete, 5,000 landscape, 25,000 mechanical, 25,000 carpentry. I put in 10,000 CWB costs, not knowing just how that's gonna do. And then we gotta verify some of these that I thought we already paid. I thought we paid 30,000 for furniture for the courtroom in 2016. Didn't we?
Furniture, I don't remember the amount.
in 16,
Yeah, I think so.
About 30,000?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even check Sundays because.
We're supposed to memorize these things.
Yeah.
where is that check? Where is that check?
It may not in my records. Do you know what it was to?
Well, let's do that net center supply.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
You
farther.
want to know?
You should know, not right now, but I mean, not right now, we will need to know.
I can try and find it right now.
Okay, that's not, I mean, that's not a big deal, and then the expense for 15, that was that audio equipment, we think.
We think. But you're gonna check
Okay.
and see if that's all I can figure that it must, I can't think of anything else where we would have spent money in 15 besides that audio equipment.
And then this gets to balanced against a revenue of about $149,000. And then $22,000 or $20,000 in the EOC grant fund left to pay part of $20,000 of one of these bills, basically.
So,
And some of them are already paid.
Not whole glass, flooring, concrete, none of
No.
that. No.
yeah, we have the amount that we intend to pay them, but.
Right.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I put these in 2017. I should have put them in 2016, and we'll fix that.
Yeah, and we will.
But it's
Okay, I see.
next version.
Net center supplies.
Net center supply.
No, that's not the right one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I might have them.
I don't know. Oh, that's Kelly.
It doesn't- I don't think that's in the right.
I think it was in that summer.
You don't need to know
Make a
that.
note.
No,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay. just make a note to figure that out.
Yeah,
It'll just make it's not gonna make a lot of difference. It was an in and out basically. Anyway,
Alright. So then you guys are into schedules C.
We're on page 24 right now, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Schedule B.
Yeah, and you're there in 24.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that's the one, it is in Harold's audit report. He showed a balance on December 31st of 2015 of $3,097.57. And I see that I looked at the account history, and you did that transfer on March 31st, it looked like. You transferred that into the general fund. And you also transferred the 18,523.92 into the general fund. And you transferred part of the 102,000 in there. So we just have to get together on that. And then it will be done. I mean, by the end of sometime in 2016, that will be done. And then in Harold's next audit, those three shouldn't show up back there. They'll find a drop off.
Right. These are in Schedule C, and they're going to get moved to the general fund.
They're just balances that have been being carried for years, or what?
They're budgets in C that were allowable to move to the general fund
Last year, right?
this year.
Yeah.
Right,
For
we're
this
moved for the 2016 budget cycle. So the reason to do it, and the reason I think the legislature changed the rules and regulations is because, take for instance the Social Security money. If you left it in C, in Schedule C, it was trapped there, and it could only. So now in the general fund, it just washes into the general fund, and any balance remaining is usable, right? And now, if the budgeting process was done as the Century Code lays out, all of it should have been unappropriated funds and rolled into the unappropriated fund balance anyway. The legislature doesn't go by their own Century Code. The tax department basically sets out a set of rules that are different, that are contrary or different than what the Century Code lays out. So that was their cure for that, was to make these funds more available, or not stuck in an account that could never be accessed. So that was done. We did this last. You guys did this last year, and now we're making the transfers. We'll have to go make the transfers correct in 16. So it's going to take we'll have to amend the budget one time to the difference between 3,000, 18,000, and approximately 62,000. So we're probably going to $40-some thousand is what it's going to amount to. So that at the end of the year, the balances, when we do the audit, the balances come out correct. So these funds now in C, they'll still be in C, but they won't have, at 16, but they won't have any balance, or very little balance left.
There's no beginning balance, the transfer out was zero at the end.
Right, and then once they're there for 3 years, then they can be wiped clear. But in the meantime, they have to be there because uncollected taxes for that tax year, for 15, still need to go into C.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep. And in the event that there should be an expense would pop up in C, we could transfer money from the general fund to Schedule C to cover it. Right.
Some of it are.
Yeah.
So then Schedule B, page 25, the unappropriated funds.
Yeah, and some of those, maybe we can just remember this page exists, and then as we go through Schedule C pages, you know, like permits are on C9, we can explain where that 6681 came from.
Just keep your finger on this one. Put a bookmark on this so you go back to it as we go forward.
And then I'm thinking on road and bridge, we should defer the conversation, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of messed up with everything. The Senate bill, and the House bill, and the construction.
We can kind of, we'll kind of give a synopsis of how it's supposed to be and what it, and
go ahead.
the value.
So we don't want to talk about road?
Well, we'll give a basic outline with all the numbers of how it's supposed to be in 16. Remember in 15 we had farm to market, we had county road and bridge, and we had, what was the third one, Ron?
It's highway, but
Yeah. So we rolled those all three together in 16, right? Yeah. So they're all rolled together. So now the transfers weren't made correctly or haven't been completed yet. So in 16 we're going to have to transfer those balances into the one account, and that's on your audit here. If you looked, it would be the federal roads, the county roads, and we have it as highway tax, 761,000, 178,000. They're rolling into the county road, $178,000 fund, and the $639,000 fund. Those balances will roll in to the one fund. Then also the balances, we have to make the amendment, but the House bill and the Senate bill numbers are in 16, and the money spent in 16, the third 1.3 million in the House bill money will be deleted, but the rest of it will roll into 17, right? So it's 470,000 approximately in the House bill money, and the rest in the Senate, along with the money that we marked for future construction, which is 760. Well, we have 742 here, and it's 764 last year. So we have to determine that's a construction reserve. That was money that we had decided to keep in the budget to try to deal with when the lease agreement comes due on the road graders. Because if we spent this reserve, we would not have the levy authority. 30 mills would not levy enough in order to move forward with doing something with the road graders. To buy the road graders out is $600 and some thousand, and that's assuming they have X amount of hours, the tire in a certain condition. We would have the money to do that. Now that's a Band-Aid fix, because we don't have the money to support it. So all it would do was the next time that came due, 30 mills isn't going to support
Just kicking the can down
the way the budget for the road department. So in order to give us some kind of transition time, that's why that $700,000 stayed in the budget. And now, because of 15, the balance brought forward was greater than was anticipated. Now there's more like $1 million that would be put into that construction reserve, and that's a decision. That's the decision that you guys got to make. Do we want to leave that money there, or do we want to put that money towards reducing the mill levy for this year? Do we want to levy the full 30 mills that the electorate gave us the ability to do? It didn't say we had to. Or do we want to levy what we levied last year, or do we want to levy a lesser amount? There's a bunch of decisions that got to be made, and of course one person can't make those. So because of that, I think that's going to take, I think we're going to have a couple hour discussion on this, and this probably isn't the time to do it. There are so many variables to this, but the net result is that at the current funding levels and current expenditure levels, the road department is not won't support itself. And we can make it stretch for quite some time. Again, we can, but the payments on the maintainers is minimal. It's 75,000 total.
Yeah, it's real inexpensive until they get renewed, and then they virtually double.
True. Yeah. To buy them out would be triple the payment. To finance the $600 some thousand on 5 years would triple the payment we're making now.
Are their leases due all in 1 year, or are they
Yes.
offset, or
No.
all 4 of them?
All 4 of them.
Right. Yeah, they're not staggered.
In 2018, that was,
And maybe we should try buy one and start staggering the leases so it's not.
Yeah.
It's hard to,
What happened was a combination of, I mean, not, can't put your finger on any one thing that caused this, but there are a multitude of things that caused it. One was the increased price in the maintainers, and then not making full use of not running the leases to the end of the lease period and trading away our equity. We have no equity left in these machines. We have negative equity. We have $600 and some thousand is owed. A big factor was the state in the way they fund these projects, where the money used to come into the road department and then we would spend the money to do these projects. Now the money is granted to the county and we bid everything out. So in prior years, the profit that the companies now bidding to make, we would make. We would, in order.
So we did the work.
We did the work, so that paid our employees, that paid our fuel, that paid.
Decrease our costs.
Yeah, it offset our fixed costs. So we don't do that
No,
anymore.
we own them and bid the job, so.
That's right. So now we own it and we bid the jobs out. Not necessarily the fault of the county or the road department. It's the way that the state has restructured the financing of this thing.
we have equipment, the same equipment that we underutilize, and we still pay the same.
That's
for it.
correct. And workforce.
Right.
Yeah. So where we used to do all this, we used to haul gravel, we used to put culverts in, we used to do these projects, and the state would give us the money, it would go into our general fund, and if they gave us $500,000, it only cost us $200,000, that was a good deal.
Sure.
Because we could say, okay, here's for hauling, here's what we paid, here's for wages, here's, but we don't do that anymore.
They didn't have to bid it?
What's that?
They didn't have to bid it?
Well, a lot of those funds that came in prior years were non-discretionary. They were just a lump sum paid. Yeah.
Oh.
And now.
So that changed with the House incentive bills when they started.
Yeah, as they gradually wanted to have more control, good word, it basically took.
Made it more complicated for us to be a player.
It made it more complicated for us to be a player, and then kept diminishing our opportunities to be a player. But as that was happening, we didn't diminish our capability. We kept the same capability. We still have the capability to do all that, we just don't do it. So that's a question. How do you
Fix that.
where's the end result? And the end result is going to be that eventually, with the 30 mills, when these reserves are used up, we won't have the ability to operate the road department that we operate now.
Might be only at least two, maybe one.
Yeah, wherever that number falls. And it's almost like the state did it. There was a plan to it. I mean, because they limit the mills, and then they give us the money, but they attach strings to the money. It's almost like they're trying to get rid of the individual road departments. If that wasn't the plan, that is the effect anyway. So.
You're giving them a lot of credit for thinking that through, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, they always have the always. It's called a knee-jerk reaction when they realize what they did wrong. But anyway, it doesn't make any difference. We've got
So
the ability
deal
to keep this thing going forward. But just keep in mind, every time we do that, we're getting closer to the point where there's going to have to be some drastic changes made.
What does a new maintainer cost, I wonder?
I can't remember. When I looked at those leases was last year.
Yeah, I think it was up. I think the retail price was upwards of $300,000.
If you bought one outright, that's what it
I
costs.
think the counties get a discount, and I thought Nelson County paid like $250 for the last cats that they got last year.
And then Willow Lake Township and Steele County bought a blade and then lease it to the private contractor that does roads in that part of the county, and their lease payments were significantly more than ours.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to own it at the end? Or they
Well-
wanted to have less of a buyout at the end?
Or it might just be the cost of the blades, or it had gone up.
That much more? Because Craig's got two guys running maintainers now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And that's the other variable is we're not doing the same amount of work even on the blading as we were previously because we've lost a couple townships to private contractors.
And that could continue to grow too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, none of this was anybody's fault per se. It's just a change that
Cause the.
that we didn't, that the county, that we didn't react to. I mean,
Counties didn't have any control
right.
over the process.
Yeah, and
Didn't react to
didn't
it.
react to it, yeah. So, anyway, that's probably enough on that till we get I mean, we got pretty good grip on where it's at, but it's just how you guys want to allocate all this is.
Okay,
Permits?
Yeah, on that one, as an example here, December 31st, 2015 balance, the 6681, that's exactly what's on page 1. And we were just
same page.
proposing to transfer that 6681 to the unappropriated funds. And that's the one that John mentioned you should put a thumbtack on, or not a thumbtack, but a market back there,
Page B25.
B25.
So, yeah. And then C9 is the permits, so.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly why we get the revenue for that or what we spend it on, but we got $1,000 revenue so far, I think, for whatever reason, and we spent zero so far for whatever reason, but so, you know, we thought it just seemed reasonable to transfer the balance from the audit sheet each year. You know, next year it'll probably be the same thing, we'll have some money there for, on Harold's audit, and just transfer it to unappropriated funds, that's all.
Otherwise, the money just dies a lingering death or
hangs out there.
metastasizes into the larger and larger number.
That'll be true for an awful lot of things as we go along.
Yeah. It can't be fixed in one budget cycle. It has to work its way through the system is what really was going to happen. So it's going to be a little confusing. There's going to be duplication for a while, but only one will be active.
New courthouse, that's what the bond payment's gonna be?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing special there.
See, if you keep going, you can go to like C10. And then those are the actual budget pages.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, right beside the new courthouse, and it says C10, so you kind of got a reference both of them.
And those page numbers, are they still wrong?
No, they're right.
Okay, are they right for a change?
Well, so far.
Okay, because it seemed like yesterday, I still had this C9 for the courthouse, and you turn back to C9, it was supposed to be C10.
Yeah.
I think that was carried over from last year.
Well,
Seems
I
like they were
recall that too.
Yeah.
The Bank of North Dakota's fees are gonna stay, is that their safekeeping fee or something?
I just got it
I mean,
right out.
that checking account's not active anymore. I mean, I know they have fees on their checking accounts.
We don't have a checking account.
No, that's true, the building authority did though, I mean, so,
No, they don't have a checking account either. It's just the bond funds.
so that
I
must
think the
just,
500 is the fee for the trustees.
yeah, I get, that's the PFM. Bank of North Dakota fees is $1,356.
Those are the trustees' fees.
It must be,
Yeah, those are trustees.
safekeeping.
Yeah, trustees' fees, yeah.
And Troy, I just got it off of this down sheet.
Okay.
Yeah, and it changed, like, well, last year it was 24,230, this year it's 23,730. And the principal, I guess, changed too, 124,730 to 124,230, so I don't know exactly why, but.
Oh, now you're looking at the interest and the principal payment.
Yeah, they changed it, and the only thing I knew what to do was just take them off the bottom table, because I imagine that's what we're paying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
They're gonna change every year because they're different tranches. Every time we make a principal payment, we take out another bank that owns a piece of this thing.
Yeah, so we should be.
So that's gonna be straightforward. So
Yeah.
we're gonna levy it to equal that amount.
And the interest rates are higher for the tranches that are around longer.
So it's about the same as last year.
Okay, EOC grant,
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
Yeah, this is the one that, what I showed here is probably, it's not the way we want to do it. I showed that we would transfer the entire amount into unappropriated funds. But we'll revise it and show that we're gonna pay Hope Glass and K&J Flooring
Out of it.
out of this, so that when we get audited, it'll look, the auditor will see that it went to a contractor rather than transferred to the general fund.
Okay.
And so I'll give you those numbers. And we can pay all of Hope Glass, we can pay about 17,000 of the 18,000 to K&J Flooring, and then we'll have to pay the remaining $1,000 out of the courtroom.
Okay, because I did pay them, or K&J Flooring, I did pay their half already, and I took that out of the new the courtroom grant.
That's fine, that's fine.
That's fine, you don't want me to correct, I can correct that.
She'll have to transfer it to be taken out of the USC grant rather than the courtroom.
Yeah.
I can correct
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So, what would be that?
911 wireless?
That one, it's a big number. We showed, and Harold's audit shows we had 103,000 in that fund. And we said we proposed transferring 103,000 into the unappropriated funds.
That's one that was caught up and never could be taken out of before too, or?
Right. We always get revenue, like for 2017, we're looking at revenue maybe of 50,000 and spending 44. It keeps building. And so next year we'll be transferring more money out of it, I guess.
It's a fee for each phone call. The 911, we suspect it is the hard line, and the wire is the cellular.
So that's $1 a month or something that gets billed.
So much a phone call.
Oh, really?
I think so. Isn't
Once
it?
per phone call.
Is it for phone?
I thought you, phone bill shows so much per line.
Yeah, I thought there's just a monthly fee, isn't there?
Okay.
It's like $1.50 per line, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you leaving a balance in there, or are you transferring it all?
Well, there's still,
I mean, do you plan to leave a balance, or do you plan?
Yeah, there'll be, at the end of 2016, there'll be a $6,700 balance.
Because there are
And-
monthly payments out of that one.
What's that?
There are monthly payments out of that, or quarterly. I can't remember when they do them, but they pay the state out of there, and they pay, is it intercommunity that gets a monthly payment out of there, or?
Yeah, and we don't have to make the transfer till right at the end of the year. We just need to get it into 2000. So.
Just so you have something to spend and.
Right. Yep.
yeah, on that, like, on the next page, 13A, we've got those expenditures. We're paying $8,800 to the North Dakota Association of Counties. Do you know why?
For 911?
Yeah, yeah, for 911.
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, we're paying, for the state line, we're paying $1,500. Then for the North Dakota Association of Counties, for whatever reason, and maybe they're helping out on it somehow.
They administer part of it, I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly what, Wayne knows all of that.
And then we got contractual data, we don't really know what that is either. And then we're paying the telephone company $6,500.
That must be the intercommunity one.
Yeah, and we receive some revenue from the telephone company.
From all of them,
Okay, so I don't know.
yeah. But those are questions for Wayne.
Yeah, all right.
But the one that's concerning is the North Dakota Association of Counties. I'm not quite sure what that.
No, I don't know what they do.
They help.
Help spend money.
Good on that. Flood control.
That one, we were just proposing to, on the balance from the audit sheet, just transferring it to unappropriated funds.
Right.
We haven't had any expenses for a long time. Back in 2015, we had a little bit of revenue, and we're not real sure why.
Didn't Wayne say there was a couple projects that were supposed to be?
Well,
No,
that's covered in the next one.
Oh, that's right.
And this
That's
unappropriated.
FEMA. Go ahead.
We get an annual payment from federal for flood control. I don't know why or what, but it always goes into flood control.
Is it always $957?
No, right around there.
Okay.
So I guess that
I
makes
don't know what it is
sense.
on.
So that's been getting moved then, because it's not accumulating in there as a balance.
Yeah, it is accumulating.
Yeah, and that's what we're,
That's what they're proposing, is to move it.
yeah, they moved the whole balance that's accumulated for 5 or 6 years now.
Where, I didn't see the balance for that.
6,400, I mean, it's.
6433.
Century Silk Code says unless it has
Where's your
a
tab?
dedicated expenditure in following years, that it should be moved to them.
Oh, so there, I mean, it's not $60,000.
No.
5,400, yeah.
And we were gonna, we interpreted that the unappropriated balance, unappropriated fund would be in the general fund. So the money would still remain active and available in the current year's budget. If there was something that came up that was unexpected, it isn't like it actually went to the treasury and wasn't spoken for in this coming year's budget. It's going to the unappropriated fund in the general fund. It's kind of a hybrid of in between this thing that we developed. So the worst case scenario is somehow we find something where we weren't able to move these dollars, they would still be available to be put back where they were. And the best judgment has been, because they have been inactive or haven't been any expenditures, we don't anticipate, can't see where there's expenditure. We don't see where it came as a dedicated fund that couldn't follow the century code. That's why these were put in this category under unappropriated funds.
Griggs, flood 11.
Yeah, and that one, we budgeted $26,901.57 for Wayne to spend, and he's still free to spend that much. I don't think he's going to, from what he indicated, that work that he's doing won't come to 26,000, but we don't know what it's gonna be. He'll spend maybe 10, 15,000, I don't know.
Well, it's an allocated amount. Before, they had to put in the requests, the townships, so and it was an allocated amount. It can be up to whatever amount was requested or set aside for that project.
Didn't they decide not to do some of the work or something?
I think so.
Right, but then the money either has to go back or it has to be used against the administrative costs for the total dollars spent.
Yeah,
And so that'll be the last thing, I think, is administrative costs.
so this thing will probably linger for a few more years.
Yeah,
Could, yeah.
until they audit and close it out, which is, of course, the topic of the next one.
Because he might even be spending money next year on it for all we know.
Well, it's not discretionary. It's already been allocated and spent. It just hasn't been collected off that.
Oh, okay.
So flood 2009.
That one is closed and Wayne said it's our money. So we were proposing to transfer the $11,22.
Okay.
County Welfare Board.
Well,
Sorry, am I going too fast?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably have to have you chime in here. Have you had a chance to, well,
I just peeked really quick right now,
Yeah.
and I see where you're not appropriating what was requested in the salaries line and for like health insurance, retirement, FICA, and job service. Otherwise, I see the rest of it appears to be appropriated.
Yes.
Okay.
And we put in 0.2% increase for the county welfare board employees, just like all the other county employees. And now you'll tell us why we can't do that, correct?
Well, I need to take this to Sia
Okay.
and for her to look at it, but you're saying that you did a 0.2%
Yeah, for all the
increase
counties.
across all departments.
Yeah, that's what we did.
We just use the federal, cost of living adjustment data.
Okay. And is it my understanding that we will be able to come to the next commissioner meeting to discuss? Or was that to have happened today? Sia, of course, is
No,
here.
I don't
Okay.
have any, I mean,
This is more to, Ron and John have been working on this with Samantha. This is more to get us three up to speed than
Okay.
anybody else.
Okay.
and Ron and I haven't been making any decisions, neither has Samantha. What the problem is according to the Century Code, the department heads are supposed to put forward this information that we have here right now. They're not doing that. They're just mumbo jumbo of numbers that make no sense. So someone has to go through and put it into the format that it's supposed to come to the auditor. And so that's what we've been doing, is put it into that format. And then we've been helping Samantha take it to the format that she's supposed to present to the county commissioners. And all these numbers are strictly arbitrary, and they're all open for discussion.
Okay. We did submit a breakout of what the proposed salaries and increases would be for next year. That had been submitted already. I don't have a copy of it with what I brought over, but we had already sent that over
That got
to
put
show
in with
why
all
we
your-
had budgeted for this.
That got put into your guys' packet with everybody else's.
Last
requests.
time, yep. We looked at them at the last meeting.
And tentatively, we made a decision as the county commissioners to go with the COLA increases across the board.
Okay, of the 0.2.
Yeah, the government puts out a cost of living increase every year, and it's projected to be 0.2%.
And
So we use that across the board for all employees, for everything.
And I will just say that in the breakout that we sent over, the state does what they call the Hayes study for the Department of Human Services, and that puts a 3% increase, and it puts it into the bottom of what has to be paid to employees, and we've got some new ones that are going to have to be increased to meet that. And there were some other things in there. So if that's something that we can be put on the agenda to talk about at the September 9th meeting, then Sia would be able to be here, if that's okay.
Yeah, we were honestly expecting you to say that we knew there was state requirements that had to be, probably, we couldn't just do 0.2%. There's state laws that have to be adhered to, so I'm sure it's okay, Troy, that they come September 9th.
Okay.
I'd kind of like to see the law.
Yeah, that's right. Make sure you're very specific on that, and get the law to us beforehand, because I'm, just because the state says it, I don't trust them.
We did send a copy of the Hayes study over, did we not?
The Hayes study doesn't mean much.
Study means nothing.
Somebody can hire you, anybody can hire
But
you.
If it starts out with CC, I'll pay attention to it.
But anyway,
Yeah. Because you gotta keep in mind, the rest of the employees also ask for a larger increase in pay than what we
Than
actually
the
allowed also.
0.2%.
Right, yeah, so, I mean, we try to treat everybody fairly, the same anyway.
Yeah, and then on 16B, the expenditures, you saw that I kind of rearranged those.
Yes.
And what was mostly, I just wanted to see that it looks like items 1 through 30 pretty much are the cost for running the department.
Yes.
You know, it's that sort of stuff. And then 31 through 40 goes to assistance.
And that makes sense the way you rearranged it. I like it.
Yeah, it really surprised me that about 98% is
administrative costs.
Is administrative cost, and 2% gets to the people.
Yeah.
But
that's
You're more
because the state is picking up those other costs, the program costs themselves. And right now they have the county paying the administrative costs, and that's where that all comes into the Senate bill study, where they are looking possibly to pick up the administrative costs in the future.
Yeah, that's where when it was in the old arrangements, I couldn't see that 98%.
I like the way you rearranged it. So
Not a very effective use of taxpayer dollars. Not a very effective use of taxpayer dollars, unless it's just a jobs program.
Well, I hate to donate to a charity and know they keep 98% of it.
They might.
They might.
So I will make sure that we find and send a copy of the century code to Samantha, and then we request that we need to be put on the agenda for September 9th, if that's okay.
The charity might only put 2% towards the charity, but the difference is then you and I probably wouldn't donate to charity.
Exactly.
This is a forced donation.
Like I said, at this point, the state and federal government pick up most of the program costs, which way back in the day, they didn't.
We did have a question.
How big a number is that? You know off the top of your
The
head?
number of what they're paying, I don't. I know it's several million when it comes to healthcare coverage.
Just in the county?
Just in our county.
Yeah.
But that could be done without a social service office, right?
It could not be administered without having employees of the Department of Human Services. These are Medicaid dollars you're talking about. So whoever administers it, whether we become state employees or the county continues to administer it, but somebody has to administer it.
Medicaid is state money.
Pardon me?
Medicaid is state money?
My
Or is it a
understanding,
combination?
it's combination state and federal. And then you talk about all the other programs that we administer, it's state and federal dollars that are being drawn into
That's why I
our
was
county.
curious what the number was.
And we could sure find that. You know, we do printouts of information that is given at the social service board meetings, what's being paid out for fuel assistance, what's coming here into the county from each of those programs.
Right. I just didn't know what that total annual number was.
That's kind of the federal government contributes to the state for the Medicaid, and then the Medicaid passes it on to it's kind of a complicated formula that
I'm
I don't think anybody understands it very well.
Amen.
The van was paid off in 2016 as
We
well,
just
right?
made the last payment on that, that's
Just
correct.
looking to see if that.
Cameron, are you going to be here till the end of this? Because we do have,
I am here
Okay.
until,
Okay.
for all questions.
Okay. I mean, because, is it domestic violence, Ron, that we have, that should be spent within the county with the dollars and the number to spend it?
You know,
It's gotta be spent on
Oh, victim
some, like,
Victim
shelter.
The victim advocate should
Yeah.
be spent with victim witness advocates, I guess. Kelly and I talked about it, and I think we receive service, I want to talk to you about that, actually.
Oh,
We
I'll
receive-
wait then. If you're going to do the end of that?
okay, good, yeah, 2 pages up on the
Okay, so then human services and human services two all got put into CWB for,
And they'll roll through for the next 3 years until we get
correct.
Yeah, so there's $50,000 balance that'll be transferred into human services, and the $319 balances. But there'll be no revenue, no expenses in human services. But next,
Just the human services two, when we talked about that,
Mhm.
there is expenses for abatements for that human services too. Yeah, when somebody abated their taxes
yeah,
for.
okay,
Yeah.
that'll show up in here.
Yeah.
For 3 years or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
and that's why we're keeping up that small balance in there, is just for those kinds of
And
things.
it will also, there'll also be revenue when unpaid taxes in 15 are collected and go into
Those are
also.
automatically going into CWB. Connie got it, talked to Kelly Hornstein to get it just so that they automatically go in.
Okay, that's good.
So all of those that got put into the general fund, those automatically just continually
That'll help
go.
the federal aid to roads and highways too, if we can do the same thing.
Yeah,
Then-
I think-
Then we can get rid of
I
those.
think we
too.
did that too. Yeah,
Okay.
they all got.
Then maybe we can get rid of a few pages.
So then it's just that expense form of the abatements for this one, but, emergency?
Yeah, that one, it's kind of what we did last year. We just said that we weren't gonna spend the money, and we've only spent a couple $1,000, and we just revised the budget downward and let the carryover go to next year. So that next year we're proposing to a plug number of 125,000, and we're not gonna levy for it. But, just to make the numbers work. You know, if we, obviously, if we actually spent the whole 125,000 this year, then we have to levy next year, but we're saying we're not gonna
All
spend.
we've spent year to date is $22.
$22.
Yeah, and 52 cents.
You're not planning for an emergency?
No,
Well,
Well, still there.
we're expensing it for an emergency. We're planning for $125,000 emergency to keep the fund fluid. But when we do finally have a legitimate emergency that is used for, this thing should not be funded to the extent that it's been funded. It should be funded into the reserve in the general fund so that it actually can be used for way more things. If you read the provisions to use this emergency fund, it's a tornado, it's a flood, it's things like that. They're not,
Natural disaster mostly is.
always, I mean, an emergency cannot be constituted by lack of planning
No.
or foresight. I mean, it's not that we forgot to budget for whatever and now it's an emergency we need it. That's not an emergency according to all this fund set. So thusly, why should we leave money? If we're going to put money into something, let's make it so it's multi-use. As long as we're prudent enough to.
Not to buy something frivolous with it, John.
Very good. We're not sailors coming into port and getting off the ship.
yeah,
That's why the controls are in place, though. I'm just.
That's why.
I know.
That's why the controls are in place but it's money for a rainy day, but it can be in a different jar.
Okay.
Our tax,
yeah, and this is when I moved the page, because our tax is here, and the next one is document preservation. And the way, I guess, and John better chip in if I mess it up, but the way it was explained, Kelly explained it, was that by law, there is that $10 fee for the document preservation. And $3 of that has to go into the document preservation fund. The previous county commissioners established this R-tax fund. And they said, instead of the other 7 going into the general fund, they wanted 2 of it to go into the R-tax fund and the other 5 to go into the general fund.
And we've used that fund, we used it to buy the ArcGIS program. And there was some other software, I think, for the tax director.
So the R-tax fund is administered by the recorder, the auditor, the treasurer, and tax director.
Right.
Yeah. If there's actually a legitimate need.
What's our tax stand for?
Recorder, treasurer, auditor, the X is for tax director.
I never knew that.
Boy, that's clear as mud.
Well, you don't want to name a slush fund for what it actually is. If the recorder, the auditor, the treasurer, or tax director needs something, then it should be in their budget. It should not be in a budget that is solely out here that no one has control over other than those 4 departments. How do you keep track of what's going on when we have money here that has no use? It's just put into a fund that anybody can access. It should go to the general fund.
It's a reserve.
Yeah, but the reserve, it's a reserve outside of controls that are put in place for the county commissioners.
I know that.
So it's gotta go away. Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what we were proposing on the transfer of the 15,997 into the general fund. And then Kelly had requested an expenditure of $1,500 for our tax. And I moved that request to document preservation.
Yeah.
And I said, because it was for some, I'm not sure what it was for, but I said that she had requested 6,100 in document preservation and 1,500 in art tax. So I moved it all to document preservation. So she is getting her requested amount of 7,600 that's still on document preservation.
I see.
And then
And I read this entry code on the document preservation. It, the $3 is mandatory.
For document, right, but that's the only one. The
Right.
$2 was done by resolution of the previous
see.
county commission.
Okay.
so then,
So we'll probably need a resolution, rescinding the resolution.
yeah, I think, I'm sure we will, of the previous commissioners saying that they wanted this special fund.
So
So we're not saying that the R tax money wasn't used for something legitimate, but what we're saying is that if it's going to be used, have it put in one of those budgets, the auditor's, treasurer's,
right.
tax director's, or recorder's budget, so that it's reflective of where it's actually going.
It's not a specific use budget anyway. So you want Jamie to draw up a resolution or what? Probably find the old one first, Jamie.
Samantha, you want to do that for me?
I can try.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if we need to find the old one. The resolution could just be that we're abolishing or doing away with the R tax budget and as previously proposed.
But if it takes a resolution rather than just a motion, then it should be drawn up so you.
Yeah, right, but I
So
mean,
you preserve it in the minute book.
the resolution probably doesn't have to reference anything more than there was one in prior. Because this isn't century code driven, this was just.
Go ahead, Connie.
Could I make a recommendation that you put some of that money into the tax director's budget for, if we could ever find anybody who would update our GIS records?
I'm not sure I understand why we need them.
Oh, we're asked for them all the time. I don't know that we need them. Well, part of it is the soils. We need them for the soils maps.
Who needs those?
The assessors, if we have assessors. And maybe if you're not going with that, maybe we don't need it. That's fine.
I mean, you can subscribe to a service, and the USGS already has all that information. You don't really need to have that database unless you're gonna build your own layers. Like,
Which is what that program is. But if we can subscribe to a service, then put the amount of that service in the budget. For somebody who needs,
If we
I don't
need it.
know if we need it, yeah.
But it appears to me that all of this latest request was, they wanted to buy our maps. And I assumed they were gonna buy them at a discount from what they could go in the open market and buy them. They can go today and buy those maps from the USGS.
Oh, maybe.
well, they were looking for layers that wouldn't be out in the public.
Right.
They're assuming that we built layers of, you know, Cooperstown put their fire hydrants on there, whatever, or some of the utilities or stuff. But I don't think we have any of that on those anyway, so it isn't gonna do me any good.
But I mean, what,
And there are counties that have their GIS data on their websites.
Oh, I know. Trail County used to, but I went out there the other day and I couldn't find it.
but I just don't know what the purpose of the GIS, what benefit the GIS maps are to the taxpayers.
I think it's a waste of the taxpayers' money.
I just don't see how it's a benefit to the taxpayers. Unless
Somebody can explain it to me. I mean, I could be
It was a
wrong.
tool the assessors used, but the way you're doing it now, it wouldn't be used.
The assessors didn't use it though.
Some did, for soils. I know they were asking for their maps, soil maps. But
You can go to NRCS and get soil maps.
as far back as we've looked, I haven't seen where it's been used, but maybe, I think it was more put in place, it appears to me, for the zoning. I think to have a better grip on what's out there and what's being built, and that's the way it looks to me. I don't know for sure what the motivation.
They were never used for zoning before.
And it matches, the time frame matches when Vanware was put into place. That's when the GIS maps were purchased.
No, that was when the state mandated that we had to go by soil type for evaluation. So we had to draw out parcels to find out where their borders were, to know how many acres in each parcel were certain soil types. So that's why we had that engineering, interstate engineering came in and drew out parcels and put them on our ArcGIS. And that's how they figured out for us. So we didn't have to figure out how many .00 acres were on each parcel.
But we never used it from that point forward. It was just done for 11, so the
It's
next
on the
year.
core programs.
Yeah, but just 1 year. I mean,
But that won't change. I mean, once that's done, it's done, right?
It changed 2 years ago. The state NDSU sent out a new soil type change. I don't know what
They created some new soil types?
They did. They took 2 or 3 or whatever and made
Made
15 or 20 out of them. I don't know. What
Oh,
they did.
wow.
It was several of them that changed. I don't know.
So those big books of soil maps I got are no good anymore.
Yep.
The dirt's different.
Yeah.
Bureaucrats helping bureaucrats
And I think
stay in business.
They kind of did that when the soils committee was still meeting,
Mm-hmm.
because Pete Mason mentioned they changed all the soil type numbers, and that's when they kind of got discouraged and quit.
Yeah.
But I blame them, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Continue on. Veteran Service Office.
Could we go through document preservation? I guess. Yeah, I guess we're projecting revenue of 4,000, which is the $3 that has to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a balance of 8,000, and Kelly is proposing to spend 6,000, so the balance will decrease from 8,000, it'll go down. Anyway,
That's fine.
And that can't get used for anything other than
yeah.
Document preservation.
Training, I think, can be one of the things.
that's, yeah. This is where office expense and travel. This is where the recorder's lobbying fees went.
Yeah, that's true. There is and apparently, the document preservation fund can be used for lobbying. Although I wouldn't interpret the century code that way, but.
So, if we want to have control over that activity, we got to speak now or forever hold our peace, because once we authorize it in here, it's not our discretion anymore.
It is.
Not right now, but I mean before we finalize the budget.
But you can just make policy.
Yeah, but I mean, you can fight about policy forever. I mean, it's been proven to us on a number of different occasions that once the money is in the department budget, and whoever has control of that budget is going to spend it. And then it's up to, then it becomes a push and shove battle to try to determine who was right or wrong. But right at this point, there is no argument about it. It's either in there or it isn't. And there's still, if it isn't in there, it doesn't mean that it can't be funded later on, but it would have to be funded on a request rather than one person's discretionary use of those funds. But it doesn't have to be answered. It doesn't have to be answered now. We haven't finalized the budget, but that is where the travel budget for the recorder line comes into here.
spending county money to lobby and us not knowing about it, or at least agreeing with it. I mean, that doesn't seem right to me.
It's,
I mean, I guess when I went to the legislature and gave testimony, I did do that, but I didn't do it on your behalf. I did it on my own behalf, in my own dime. So there's a difference in my mind.
it's become so intertwined though, because the auditors, the treasurers, all the different organizations then have been taken up the task of also doing the training. So you go to the convention and you fulfill the essential item of training, but also there's other topics discussed there. So it's really a tangled up little mess, and you can't do away with one without doing away with the other, and vice versa. So it is a policy issue. What it gets down to what it actually is the public being able to be assured that their tax dollars are being spent to their benefit and their benefit only. And the only way to do that is bring all this out in the open. And make every public official aware that they should be acting in the best interest of the taxpayer and not of some organization they happen to belong to that has no regard for the taxpayer.
I agree.
But again, I don't think that can be mandated. It has to be a conscious thing. And the only way to make it a conscious thing is make everybody aware of it, in my way of thinking. We can't pound it into them, they can't do it. We can cut the money for it, but then we cut the money for the funding. So it's got to be some give and take here. Everybody's got to understand what everybody's here for.
We good there?
Yep.
Okay.
We're doing impasse,
Veteran Service Officer.
What's that?
Veteran Service
Service.
Officer.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, the levy, for some reason, there was fairly good balance, so the amount we're levying is good. Last year, I think we levied 14,000, this year 6,000. Routine, pretty much is-
The only thing to mention here is, if you notice, we're using up a balance, so we're only levying half what the actual budget is. So next year, you're gonna see an increase in the levy in this because we used up the balance, and there's a few more like that throughout the budget, so there's gonna be some savings this year, but we're gonna have to make it up. Nothing real big, but
I just,
yep. I make a motion to take a 5-minute break.
Is there a second on the motion?
Dale seconded it.
Second by Dale, all in favor? Aye. Pose same sign. Motion carried. Call the meeting back to order.
the only thing that I saw that was, I just had a question on it, was the salaries part. You gave him the 100% of what he requested. Is that the,
No, we changed it.
I've changed it on my copy.
Okay,
So that
okay.
when I send it to you,
okay,
it'll be the 0.2%.
okay.
Just like everybody else.
Okay,
Me and John caught that yesterday.
okay.
It's,
Okay,
Okay, county victim advocate.
that one's going away or something?
Well, that's
So this is the one for Jamie.
84,
Oh, no,
31.
it's actually Kelly's and the state's attorney's actually Kelly's, I think.
The county victim advocate.
81,
No, 84, 31, and 40.
I
84.
probably should do some research to see if that Kenny will go to the budget or not.
Okay, thank you.
Well, aren't we sort of obligated morally to give it to a woman's shelter or
Well,
something?
yeah, what the statute says, and I can't quote the statute off the top of my head, but it's a shelter or victim advocacy. It's supposed to be spent for that. We use the Abuse Persons Outreach Center in Valley City, so I would recommend giving a portion of that. And
What's the Valley City?
the Abuse Persons Outreach Center, and it's run by the grant money.
Well, we'd rather keep it in Griggs County and give
That's-
it to a Griggs County.
There is no
There is,
entity.
that's what we use.
That's where they refer.
That's what we use as a used person's outreach center. There isn't an entity in Griggs County.
Isn't there any organization in Griggs County for abused people or?
No, we use Valley
Is it
City.
elected?
The
No,
Oasis.
we refer them down to
They go to
Valley
Valley
City.
City. They come up here for court dates, they have an advocate. What the advocate usually does is works with victims of any crime to make sure that they're compensated and work with me. And one of the things that we could do, I just talked with Kelly about this the other day, I haven't had time to research it. Most state's attorney's offices use a victim witness advocate to contact and stay in touch with the victim, so they know what's going on with the cases. And there could be a potential of maybe working with another county that has one to get some of this money that we get from the victim witness advocate. Use that money so we have our own advocate. I guess we use the same shelter in Devil's Lake up in Nelson County, but the Youth Person's Outreach Center doesn't deal with all victims of all crimes.
Well, can we see the statute? I mean, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I can get it to you guys. I don't have it out right now. I didn't know.
Is it on the century code?
What's that?
Is it in the
It's
century?
in the century code. I don't remember what section it is, but I've dealt with it for Nelson County before, so yeah, I don't probably
I'd like to
get
see
it.
the statute first. Wouldn't it make sense to transfer some of this to the district court budget and some of it to the
It
state
can only
attorney?
it can only be used for certain things, and I don't know. Like I said, Ron, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't really when we talked about
Let's
it,
see the statute first.
but I don't think it can be used for anything.
What's the revenue generated from it?
It's $25 for every case that
Court
is assessed.
Court costs.
Yeah, it assesses court costs to each defendant.
Yeah, something like witness fees, I thought.
Yeah, it's a
that
victim
could
witness.
probably
It's a
transfer.
victim. They can't. It can only.
Okay.
I don't remember the quote off the top of my head, but it is for either the shelter for victim advocacy group, but it can't be transferred back to the county. I don't think.
No,
we
we're
don't
probably
look
going
at
to
that,
that.
but as close as we can keep it to being local, the better off we'll be without going through a bureaucracy that just spends 98% of it only, and only 2%.
Right, I understand that, but I guess my thought of it is we use the services of these persons outreach center in Griggs County, and they don't get any revenue from us. We don't pay them. We don't do anything. They're kind of if it's anything like the Safe Place in Devil's Lake, they're a grant funded organization that we probably should be paying them because they do come up and do programming at the schools for like safety and use, and they do stuff in my office for any domestic stuff. So,
But it all depends on how you view a grant funded organization.
well,
I view it without us, they can't have an organization.
no, and I know what you're saying, but I think this is a worthy cause. I've seen some of the cases I've dealt with. I think.
Let's just see the century code, and we can keep it closer. The closer we keep it in-house.
Okay, special assessment?
Well, on that, I was gonna say, this year, we're apparently gonna spend $0, so the fund balance is gonna grow up from, it'll grow another $5,000. It was
It'll probably be close to
15,000 last
probably
year.
close to 20,000 by then.
It's gonna be 20,000, so nobody's spending it, it just keeps growing.
And it's supposed to be spent every year.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry.
Hey, Jamie.
Okay, special assessments.
Routine curb and gutter, I guess, for the city of Cooperstown. Give them a check, because they put curb and gutter around the building.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Just special assessment, special road,
Oh.
so sewer road. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
County agent.
The only one there, and I think I gave you a note, if we look at the next page, that 25A, that, as near as I can tell, for the very first item, salary, it looks like we write a check to NDSU every year for about $15,000, and we don't pay any salary to the county agent. So we probably ought to revise this and just take any, I don't know where we got that 23,000. I think that's half her salary, but we don't pay that much. We actually just pay around 15,000, and maybe that's 30% of her salary or something. We need to find out what that is.
We're supposed to pay off.
No, we pay half.
We haven't been, because this year so far, if you look at the expense so far this year, it's 15,000. Right?
Yeah.
But we pay it twice a year.
Well, there's two payments. There was one $11,000 payment, there was a $4,000.
That's because it was a partial year when she started, I think.
No, she worked all of them.
Or no, she worked all those.
She worked all of 60. I
We
think.
made 2 payments already?
I don't feel like we've made 2 payments this year.
Well, you could, somebody sent me the account, it was Lori sent me the
Or
account
since
history.
they come history for that.
Yeah, and it showed 2 payments, I'm pretty sure, about 11 and about 4,000.
Well, they'd be pretty close to the same amount.
Oh, no, they were,
So,
these were
or
quite a
might have been for something else, I don't know.
well, maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But in
I could probably-
2015, it was about 11 and 4,
Oh,
you know, and it shows we paid her 15,000.
Yeah, in 2015, she wasn't here all of 15.
Oh,
so-
that might have been why, that's 11 and 4 and
That's what I
15,
mean, the
yeah,
partial.
yeah, in 15, but 16.
Yeah.
16 should be here though, but we haven't done it.
Well, see, but in 16, we paid 11 and 4, just like we did in 15. That's where,
Okay, I'll go back and look at those.
Stiffing the governor?
Huh?
Are you stiffing the governor?
I mean, what does that mean?
Not paying it.
I'm giving myself a raise, you guys.
oh, so instead of the county agent,
Okay, yeah, let me look into that.
yeah, because we could probably just change that to NDSU,
And DSU payment.
because that's who we're paying, we're not paying anything to her.
Yeah.
We pay, we have to pay half, or not half, or whatever the salary is plus.
Yeah, maybe it's half, but it didn't look like
So anyway, this is one of those budgets that we're only gonna levy $26,000 for this year, but in the future, we're gonna have to make up $140,000.
it. Mhm.
So it's gonna go up considerably next year.
Yeah, we're allowed to levy 4 mills, which would be 80,000.
Right, and why we ended up, I believe, with these big balance, because I think they were just levying the maximum.
They must have.
Yeah,
been.
Meal levy.
and then we went a half a year without, so it built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's what happened, so anyway, it'll get back where we'll have to levy the $60,000 or three mills, 3.5 mills in order to cover it, but this year we'll only have to levy 1.5 mills.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's just something to keep in mind in the budget when we spend more money next year.
County agent special fund.
How come the county agent has a special fund?
This is for the weed testing.
That's what.
Oh, I see.
So that-
Chemical testing.
Yeah, it just stays there.
Okay.
Chemical hazard.
Yeah, we were proposing to take that balance of 4433 and put it in unappropriated funds. Apparently we get, well, in 2015, we got $725.
which, I mean,
That's for chemical hazard,
oh, yeah, we did an annual thing.
$700 or something.
From each registered dealer, right?
So,
So that'll just go to the same thing, the general unappropriated fund balance, and if we miss something, we'll put it back in.
yeah, we never spend it. Yeah, next year will be the same thing, I
Okay, alcohol monitoring.
guess. It's kind of the same thing. It had built up somehow at $8,000, and we were proposing to transfer that $8,000 to the unappropriated funds. We get revenue of $8,000 for alcohol monitoring, I guess.
Well, not at one time.
Yeah.
No, we charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, charge.
That's a self-paid and a piece.
But there's expense too, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Breath tubes, scan bracelets.
Well, but see, that's why it is necessary for it to go back to the general fund, because the expense is our law enforcement officers administering it, and we're not paid for that. The only way we get paid for that is to put the money back in the general fund, and in essence.
Yeah, well, some of it, on this page, somebody listed breath tubes of $500 and scram bracelets of $5,000. And I guess that must be what Bob or somebody, if the judge says you gotta have a scramble, he said apparently
Yeah.
they
They have to pay for it.
Oh, we see it on our vouchers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the revenue, if they have a bracelet put on, they pay a monthly fee for it. Or they pay for the bracelet. That's-
Well, we must pay somebody to monitor the scram bracelet.
No, that's computerized, but the administering, putting them on, we have an expense.
Computerized, but somebody's still gotta watch the computer.
That's,
It's not done mobile though, is it?
that fee is what they charge, that fee comes out of what the person wearing the bracelet pays every month or every day to have the bracelet on. That's attributed, that's a different fee, that doesn't go to us.
Oh,
But we still have a law enforcement cost involved in this.
Yeah, and he's got, in his budget, he has intoxilizer 5,200. I don't know if an intoxilizer is the same thing.
that's a breathalyzer, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, the money, we are incurring, Griggs County is incurring a cost, and so we're getting it then for some of that money to go back into the general treasury in order to fund the sheriff's department. Or in
Okay. Weed control.
Yeah, on that one, on page 29A, I put what the century code said. That the formula must require that county officials budget from revenue derived from county sources an amount equal to the revenue that could be raised by a levy of at least 3 mills. So that's why we're not spending $60,000, but we're levying it, I mean, we're budgeting it because we have to.
You have to keep 3 mills balanced to cover.
Well, we have to budget. Yeah, we have to put, that's all it says.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
have to budget
Mhm.
3 mills. The budget an amount equal to 3 mills. And
Not annually, we just have to maintain a budget with that much.
that's not what it says. I mean, it's
That's what it should say.
I agree.
That's when they do the chemical reimbursement, we have funds
Yeah.
available to make the program work.
But I didn't make this up. I just copied it.
But we did budget 60, I mean, you're confusing budget and levy.
But, yeah,
Right. We didn't levy anything.
yeah,
Yeah, we never levied.
right.
Right, so if we don't spend anything, nothing will change, we still have the 3 mills there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we still, because of things in the past, we can transfer
$12,000.
$12,000 and still not levy.
Right.
It's just starting to.
We just have to maintain a balance in this fund of 3 mills.
Correct.
The rest of it can.
Right, right. So right now, we're gonna be $461.06 over the minimum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Because we just showed a $60,000 expenditure, but that doesn't mean we're gonna actually spend that.
Right.
So in order to get down to the bare minimum, $12,000 will be transferred to the unappropriated fund balance.
And remind me, lap and tag, does that revenue go into the general fund? Or isn't there supposed to be lap and tag revenue?
From the park, there,
Yeah.
I can't, that must have been what miscellaneous was in 2015, 3,700.
That might be.
And so just make a note to look into if we are getting more lap and tag revenue. And I'm sure we are.
Yeah, we got a letter from the
Yeah,
ag
you
department.
guys got funds, and we just got some. It wasn't too long ago that we got some.
June meeting, one of our June meetings. we
Yeah,
got the-
something like that.
So-
We did get funds already. I don't know if it went into weed.
Well, it must have went into revenue for
Yeah. I don't.
this, but. Well, I guess we'll look at
tag is
We got to take expense.
29A.
Expenditure side,
it. Is
so
it? So there should be revenue.
there would be revenue on this side.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see Okay.
Okay. Leafy spurge.
We were just proposing to transfer to unappropriated funds and get rid of this page. I think we intended to do it last year, but we probably screwed it up. And Or no, I take that back. I put transfer to weed.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
tried.
and then under weed, I put a transfer in of $1,415. So,
Okay.
Okay, regional corrections.
on that one, there was a balance of $57,000. And we were proposing to transfer it to the unappropriated general funds. And that means we're gonna have to, we knew we'd have to start levying for it someday. And we're showing that we'll start levying for it this year. This year, we'll have to levy 11,000 for it. Next year, probably about 11,000 again.
2 mills?
Well, no,
It all depends on how many people, I mean,
Oh, there's-
this causes a
Yeah,
pressure,
there's
is what
revenue.
this does.
yeah, because
So if we have a crime spree more, if we have a declining crime less.
Changes every year.
yeah, and
Pretty hard one to estimate.
Yeah.
it
Because
is-
that's all we use it for now, right?
and it's apparently the revenue, what do they pay us, about 80%? Like if we spend 15,000, we get revenue of 12,000 for some of them, so.
But we haven't got, have we gotten revenue this year so far?
Well, we estimated 12,000 revenue.
Right, but I think the last time I couldn't find it, have we gotten any revenue?
Was it? Okay, I can't remember. I just,
I will look for you.
I'm sure it'll be way, because we haven't hardly spent anything expenditure-wise. There haven't been that many.
Regional corrections, we have gotten, or maybe not. Because in my revenue report, it would say that we got taxes for it, but then that would go into FAR, right?
No, we don't get tax money for regional corrections.
Because I gave the regional corrections 10 mills 2 years ago, but it should have been for FAR, so all this revenue should be for FAR, correct?
Right.
But that was a 2015 issue, wasn't it? Or was that a 2016?
Well, 2015, but it's previous taxes.
Well, we're supposed to be reimbursed for some of this, and doesn't this fall under the preview of the sheriff's department again, having to send in for reimbursements?
Yeah. So maybe he just hasn't sent in any reimbursements.
The state reimbursed for person employee,
I believe so.
depending on what the offense is, or
I believe so.
I don't know. What was it, in 2015, we actually received.
Next time you talk to Bob, I'll ask him about that. But we don't show any revenue there, right?
Just general taxes, mobile homes, and penalties and
regional
interest.
Yeah.
No, in 2015, we had actual revenue. Well, it says state aid, $12,900.
Right, but so far this year we haven't.
Well, this year, I don't know, maybe.
Oh, state aid money we get, yes, a portion of that goes into regional corrections. But that's quarterly payment, the state aid is.
But why do they give us state aid?
Because it's based on, the breakdown for it is based on 1996 percentages. So when I get state aid, I put it in my worksheet, it figures it out, and that's where it goes. But we only had revenue in 15 and not in 16, because now in 16 it's transferring it directly into general, into FAR, because it's supposed, or we are transferring it
Into FAR.
because of that 10 mil
Yeah.
mistake. Since we didn't budget for it originally.
We've only spent $6,646
So far, we spent so far.
in the regional corrections thing. So it, either way, the number's not gonna be very big.
So state aid, what funds does that go into? So it goes into regional corrections? When you get state aid, you said portion
Yeah,
all.
it goes into regional corrections, FAR, county agent, road.
Okay.
Garrison. Yeah. Soil conservation. Water management. Library, I think. All 20 townships.
Okay, and that,
And
City, I suppose.
fires or ambulance. No, city state aid goes directly.
Oh,
to
right,
that.
yeah.
I think it's fire districts.
Can you give us all those numbers?
For each,
Well, for example, on the county agent budget, we had actual, state aid actual revenue of 11,000 in 2015.
Mhm.
We put 0 for 2016 because we weren't aware that
oh,
we needed to put in state aid money, so we screwed it up.
oh, okay, oh.
But we
gotcha.
don't need to screw it up in 2017,
Right, right,
if you can,
yeah.
So was 15 the screw up where we got in FAR instead of regional corrections, or was 16?
It was 15's budget. Because I did the levies for in 14 for 15.
So that should have worked its way through though.
No.
Well, it was 2014 tax year, so we're still collecting a few 2014 taxes.
Right.
So those are the monies going in. But was it 15 still? I don't think so. I think it's only 14s.
But it was for the 2015 budget.
Right.
That I missed that one.
So I should,
And it wasn't discovered until it was too late to amend the budget. We were already over that year.
yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, tax statements had already been sent out
Yeah.
at that point.
And since I did the 10 mils out of regional corrections and I short the FAR 10 mils, then it just made it so that we could just transfer those funds.
And I never even thought about that the state aid was going there. We should
So that-
probably be putting state aid directly, for regional corrections directly into general.
so you shorted the FAR, you gave it to the regional corrections.
Correct.
but you fixed it.
Hmm?
But they fixed it, right? They took.
Well, it's continuously getting fixed every month.
Is the $57,000 reflective of the fix or before the fix?
I don't know.
That's the 57.
That's the balance remaining at the end of 15.
Okay.
So,
Here was
That
our
would-
report.
That would only include December's 2014 tax collections, so it would be minimal, probably a few hundred, maybe $1,000.
so you transfer the rest of it before
Before
they
then.
close the books
Yeah,
on, at the end of 15.
because we do it at the end of each month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So it was only that 1 month.
So that money had already migrated its way into FARs, except for the last month. Okay. Yep, I got it. Got it.
Okay, continue on.
Continue on.
Domestic violence.
That's one of those, but what do we, where that, do we get a check every year from that company, domestic violence?
That's
No,
fine.
that's, no, that's marriage licenses, every marriage license, $35, $30 goes to the county.
Paying it forward.
$35 goes to domestic violence. And at the end of every month, whatever I've collected for domestic violence goes to the state.
Yeah, remember that's a marriage license, that's why we had it listed as a fund.
Yeah. We talked about this the other day. It used to be called the displaced homemakers.
Yeah,
Now they changed it to domestic violence.
Yeah, I think my question is, could we just get rid of this special revenue fund and just have the revenue go into the general fund under permits and licenses?
Do you have to report that to the state?
I have to report it to the state, so it would have to go into special funds that we keep track of it, so.
All right.
At least a special account number.
right. I can stay there, I mean, we never spend that.
We never spend anything.
Well, yeah, we spend it all goes to the state.
Oh, it goes to
It
the
has a
state.
zero, it
It's just
should
a-
have a zero balance.
It's just a collection fund, in and out.
Yeah.
We keep finding people that never earn their
If
life.
it hasn't ended down a month balance in December because we haven't sent that month to the state.
Yeah, well, this
It
is
has one.
another one we probably screwed up because we said estimated revenue in 2016 was 0, estimated expenses in 2016 was 0. So we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, well,
It's just an in and out, right?
it's an in and out anyway, so
Okay.
zero is fine.
Okay, just leave it
Yeah.
to our.
Because at the end of the year, when he did the audit, he'll just read it as in and out account, he'll say, here's the revenue and here's your expense.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
All right.
Actually, that's probably the way it should be done. If we don't know it, that's probably what it should
I
be.
suppose. Yeah, that's all we did in 22.
It's just an in and out account.
Yeah, we showed revenue mixed up.
It doesn't matter what number you put in there, as
Yep,
long
I
as
guess
it's the
that's
same
right.
top and
Yeah.
bottom.
Well, maybe we should raise the fine so we can put an end to this.
Raise the revenue.
Penalty's not high enough if you do that.
The next few budgets.
Kelly was selling one when I walked in the door today.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You couldn't talk about it.
She told him, come up here. Go through the application process. Interview.
Tyler Stockwell and Amber. He
The
was
next few budgets are just the ones that got transferred into the general fund.
they were walking in the back door when I came upstairs. I said, hey, what are you guys up to? Go and get for Merlin. Up the steps, they went, run for it, run.
Okay, so
Collecting a fee.
that's what we have.
County loan, social security, or those are transferred, IT was transferred. Insurance reserve.
You'll probably appreciate what we were proposing to do on E1
Yeah.
was we were proposing to eliminate all the pages after that, where you have to try to figure out the water board budget and the county fair budget. And we're just saying, we're gonna levy that many mills and we'll never understand their budgets.
No, we're gonna, yeah, but actually,
He gave up.
Well, how long did you work on the water board budget last year?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
To be actually correct, though, we're have to say that we're going to levy a dollar amount equal to the current mill levy.
Yeah.
You can't levy a mill levy because of the.
Yep, that's right.
So the state tells us our county is worth 19,700,000.
We kind of estimated.
Yeah,
Oh, we haven't gotten the word yet.
when the state board of equalization met, we were under on residential, we were at about 88% on residential, 89% on commercial, so they could raise it as much as 4 or 5%. We think they might raise, we guess, they might raise the 3% and the other 2%. But typically, they don't seem to do that for another month or two.
Yeah, usually the first week in September.
Oh, that's, last year I thought it was the end of September.
I thought it was like closer to October that we got those.
Then we factored in the,
We put in that, but we estimated residential was about 2% and first 3%. But they did.
it's not a precise number, and then we put in 25 million for.
Yeah, and the agricultural, I was happy to see it work.
Right.
We've set it at 90.5%. And they said, okay, we're not gonna raise it, you're good at that 90.5%, so that, we need to do that in future years, just keep it like that. Yeah, keep it at 90.5, and they won't raise it, so.
Does that mean we're being complicit then?
Yeah, we gotta be up to 90%, so as long as we're at that 90.5.
like that.
It's within the tolerance level.
I prefer forced servitude. Complicit, that's the analogy that we're going along with it because we want to.
Yeah, I guess.
But you three did.
Well, yeah, that's true. I didn't pick up the word complicit, what you meant.
Doesn't.
Subservient.
Subservient, yeah.
You shall.
So that number might change in 1970.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be any lower than that.
No, because we're at 19.7 right now, aren't we, without any increases? Or?
Right now we're at 19,651.
Yeah.
Okay, so it might be,
19 million.
Yeah.
it'll most likely be, it might be 750, yeah.
19,651.
You said 1,000.
Sorry. I meant it in like a dollar amount. It's gonna be
Commercial
19,000.
and residential are 10% of the overall aggregate of Griggs County, so it's 1% is really all you're talking about then. So that's it.
So is it all right if I let the department heads know that the next meeting will be the time that they can come up and kind of discuss their budget with you? Okay,
September 9th.
yep.
Because we need to have a budget hearing before October 10th.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I think what I did this year was I just went back to what I did last year and just had it at your first meeting of the month and at 6:30, and that's what I did it for this year. I can go back to find where I found it last year, because I think I did find that last year.
right, but I think they might have taken it out of the century code.
But the tax director, the state tax director shows on the website, it's so tenth, but, you know, they justify that.
So I do have it on October 7th.
Because you don't have to be accurate if somebody says anything. Is that it for the budget for today?
That's all I have.
Okay. New courthouse? Nobody's picked up any concrete packets, huh?
Nope. We just had that one from before, and they never returned it.
I'll try to make a couple phone calls.
I did get carpet picked out.
All right. That is girl.
I did get carpet picked out. I did show Ron when he was in.
Green shade.
Nice.
I got a few samples trying to match it to what's going to be in the hallway, and had Connie and Christy kind of look with me, and so we.
That's kind of dated ourselves, that means I have to buy it. I didn't read it all the time.
You wouldn't have liked any of the other ones.
She probably doesn't know the shade.
I'll move we adjourn special meeting number 1.
That's what they watch last hours.
Or do you just continue?
Yeah.
Is it 2 meetings?
So we want like.
It's 2 meetings.
We're not done?
We're talking about the new courthouse.
Oh, we gotta,
Can Connie speak?
Connie.
The sheet you have with your agenda was put together by Kelly and Sam and Megan and I, just to address, because we'd heard you wanted to put auditor, tax director, and treasurer in where Kelly's office currently is. There's no way all of her stuff would fit in treasurers, for one thing, what is currently treasurers. And I don't know, we just addressed our main concerns here. If you've got questions about any of it. I guess we didn't understand why you thought the treasurer and auditor should be together in that one, room. But you'd like to understand why you want to move things around, I guess.
Well, it's hard to understand for me why
I don't understand.
the recorder needs almost 5 times more space than they have right now. I mean, I wouldn't have stepped off the square footage. Now, don't argue with me.
Yeah,
That is a fact. So
but
what's,
you know what she has right now.
but it's working right now.
Over here.
If I could speak on this, right now, I currently have 3 vaults that I have storage on. The square footage that I use for general purposes and for storage right now is 2,044 square feet. The new courthouse, there's 1,040. So I am losing a significant amount of space. Currently in our office right now, for that purposes, it's extremely tight. I can hardly walk around the one side of my desk. But I guess some of the main points for me is, in addition to the office space there's it's a vault office. We also have to have that research space for individuals. I have attorneys, surveyors, bankers, individuals off the street that come in to do research. Right now I have that large table. We unfortunately are going to have to take all those books with us. The digitizing portion is, for the most part, done. They had to come in and redo some that they had missed that we have found so far. But the part that's going to take, I would say, a year or 2 more, is getting all of our images into our software program. I'm currently behind Cass County and another county, and Cass County's unfortunately, she said they're on their 2nd year of waiting because there's problems getting into the program. And we only have this one program to do this. In addition to the recorder's records, there's all the clerk of court records that have to come with me. The digitizing world started in late 2010, 2011 for sure was the first full year of digitizing for clerk of court. The retention schedule on misdemeanors has went from 7 years to 10 years. So all those paper files, we don't backscan, we can't backscan them. All of the paper files have to come with us. Felonies are 50 years, some of them are lifetime. So I have a massive amount of storage down there, the records that have to come with. Unfortunately, we do access some of these records quite often. There's a lot of people that call to double check social security numbers or date of birth because you have common names and somebody's trying to get funding and, well, is this judgment this person or that judgment for that person? So there's just a lot of need for that storage. Originally, when this was designed, there was 3 employees. So it's, that was something that was taken into account too. The other thing that we have that room set aside for is for individuals, the general public, to come in when there's high-risk situations. I can give you one situation, a scenario where I had an individual that came in for a protection order. And she was scared, she was frightened, and she said, he's following me, he followed me, he watched me come here. I took this individual right now, and I stuck her in a different room downstairs. I was able to shut the door. So if this individual came in looking for her, those are things that are being brought into, I guess, our backyard, if I'll use that word. So that's another reason why we had that room set aside there, with addition to the research and everything, where we could put individuals in there. The scenario happens more than you realize. And I guess the big main thing too is the fact that this area was selected for the court facilities grant. We did receive the funds. I mean, these areas were the areas that we said, these spaces here are connected to the clerk of court, and the state did then give us money for the fixture and finishes for those areas. That area in between and then of course the other reason why that location was chosen for us is because we're connected to the courtroom. And I was also able to connect that area in between the courtroom and the clerk of court to my grant, because it is that safe passage between the courtroom where the staff can go back and forth and the judge doesn't have to interact with the public. So I guess that's a big concern too, is that we have said, hey, this is the areas that the grant is covering, and we've accepted that money now.
But the recorder wasn't part of that.
It's a combined office. I think by Century Code they've combined this office. I don't know if I want to use the word Century Code, but when you vote, it's a combined position. The county has made it a combined position.
But
I mean, I don't even want to get into how you designated the square
Even
footage
on-
there, but you can't have it both ways, because you designated the recorder's portion of the new courthouse as county offices also. So which way is it? Is it in the courthouse grant, or is it in other offices? Because you have it both ways. So anyway.
It's officially
The-
recorder clerk of court office. Even on this that we present to the state, it says recorder clerk of court. They deal with this a lot. It's included in the grant. I don't know what your
Recorder
name
was
was
not
not.
included in the other offices in the new building. It was 4 offices that were included: extension, auditor, treasurer, and tax director.
And state's attorney.
And
No,
Nope, state's attorney,
they
and
were
clerk
covered by
of
the
court
bond.
could not be included.
These,
in that.
the other offices were the ones not covered by the bond, and it was only those 4.
Okay, I thought
The state's attorney was covered by the bond.
But in addition to that, I mean, it is really, it's a storage issue, it's a space issue, it's,
Just public coming in.
right.
There's so much traffic.
There is a lot of traffic between both of these offices. And I don't know why there's an impression that there isn't a lot of traffic in these offices, but we are busy Monday through Friday. Whether it's phone calls, emails, there's a lot of general public that comes in for many different reasons. There's 2 different offices, 2 different functions. They really have not a whole lot in common, but for whatever reason, I don't know who was at state or whoever came up with the idea to combine these offices, or whoever that started that deal. But there are about half the counties in the state that are combined. So,
well, would it make sense to put the tax director's office in with the recorder's office?
you know, the general concept of sharing a space isn't something that, would bother me. It's just the fact that if there's somebody that's going to be in my office, they have to be a employee of mine. They would have to sign an oath of office. I would have to train them. There's too much confidential information that other offices could not be a part of. The clerk of court has a lot of confidential information that, unless you are an employee of that office, you cannot. Same thing with, Sam's office and employee records. I can't have access to those. It's the same thing with social services. I could never be in a social services office because the conflict of interest.
But access and being in the same general area are 2 different
Telephone
things.
conversations, we have conversations out loud.
Well, then let's show that to us. Show us where that's the actual law. I want to see it. Because who was going to be in that office with you? Where was the zoning going to be?
Zoning at that time, that position was held by Connie McKenzie, that was in the state's attorney's office.
And there's no confidentiality problem there with having the office shared. I mean,
She was the same.
I agree. Well, I mean, if you're gonna make the argument, then make the argument and back it up with an actual hard fact.
I guess I don't know what you're looking for other than the fact that I am the elected official and I'm telling you exactly what happens in this office.
Right.
And
why
there
can't
are
we
laws
share?
and statutes that I have to.
Then show me the law and statute
Well,
that says that we can't put up a freestanding wall and have the tax director's position in there, that we can't put up a freestanding wall and have some other position there. Show me where that, we're specifically denied from doing that.
Well, individuals that come to the counter and want to talk about their juvenile case, those are not open record, those are not.
Again,
those are
show, just show me. And when you
I
show
think
me
it's common
that,
sense that everybody knows a juvenile record is not open record.
Don't say common sense.
No, it really truly is.
But you need
I think Tammy can back me up here when it comes to social services.
Speaking of common sense, if you have to have that conversation with somebody, you probably should go to a different room anyway. There's conference.
Well, we
room.
are in a separate room.
There's conference.
We are in a separate room.
The window's open, the door's open. I certainly hope we're not gonna have to ring a buzzer and talk through a window like the sheriff's
We don't
department.
advertise.
You can go across the hall to a room that's confidential.
Well, all I'm saying is we don't advertise it. We certainly don't advertise it. We do our best.
You know what, we're gonna all fit
So
in
that's
here.
what I'm saying.
This is less than helpful.
We haven't gotten to our point that we're talking about. We're not excluding.
We want to all fit in there.
Absolutely. This
We
isn't-
want to fit in the spaces we were meant to fit into.
They're
The only one-
looking for a little input on rather than us.
Right,
putting us on.
we don't want to be told you're going here and you have to do this, when we know that we have to take certain records with us, or we have to comply with certain laws. We don't have.
Just try to make a concession, why can't the tax collector go into the recorder? I mean, what would stop that from happening? I'm not saying that the way that one of us envisions it is has to be the way it is, but your vision of it is that it's staying exactly the way it was and can't do nothing about it.
And I apologize
And
for
again,
giving that
don't-
impression. That's absolutely not what we're trying to say here. The tax director also, when they deal with veterans exemption, I mean, they also have confidential things. All I'm trying to say is I'm trying to preserve.
You know what, I work in a bank that has 1,250 square feet and 6 people in there, and a lot of it's taken up by a vault, and we have lots of confidential conversations in there. And don't talk to me about not being able to get this done in the space that's in that building. And what we're asking for is a proposal to say, this is how we think the space should be proportioned. I haven't seen one yet.
Well, we're getting to that. But you're also employees. You all have your bankers. They're under all one direction. They all know the rules and they all follow regulations. That's all I'm saying. Is that if somebody was in there, you just have to be careful. Well, we haven't got to the rules yet. And
We don't all have the same job.
No, of course we don't have the same job. But you all know the rules. I mean, your bankers know that they have to be confidential about certain things. That's all I'm saying is that anybody that's in that office, it would be nice if they were an employee, but we haven't got to a proposal yet. I mean, I apologize if we come across as we're bucking this, but we do have a good proposal that we feel.
I mean, that's what I asked for.
Right, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with saying it would be nice, but don't tell me that it's a law and then not show me the law. Now you went from we have to have it this way to it's be nice.
Well, the proposal really is, with any
I
extension.
thought the proposal was going to be in here, in the board packet.
It is, this is it.
That's not a proposal,
I don't get it.
that's just telling us why we can't do what we propose
Well,
to do.
extension could fit in, it's part, could fit into where the tax director currently is. She can make that work. There again, anything they need for pesticide testing or conversations between the agent and stakeholder can go to a different office. Tax director, we would like to eventually see that combined. Why hasn't Jamie hired a secretary? Could a part-time tax director be his secretary? Could the DES, that we don't know what they do, could that be tax director and DES? Could that person be in the DES office where the sheriff currently is? You know, we need to have those conversations.
That's just a tiny little office.
Yeah, but there's a storage room right behind it.
I know, but you're proposing putting 3 different people into a tiny little
No, I'm
office. when
proposing
we
one
have-
person doing 3 jobs.
How do you do that? I mean,
I don't know, because we don't know what a DES person does, so we don't know if somebody could do that. I mean, we know Bob does that as sheriff, so yes.
But I mean, you're proposing something that we don't have the ability to bring about. We can't make that, we can't make somebody even take 1 job.
Right.
How are we gonna get them to make them take 3? So they're proposing something that's fictional.
Okay, so what we have right now is a veteran service officer who has the office.
And who shall have an office of his own?
Yeah, he does, it's already designated. Couldn't the tax director be in there 3 days a week, not the days of the month that he comes?
The tax director should be in with the recorder. The records that they use are similar. There is all kinds of room in there to make a little cubicle for that tax director. Trying to be a little bit of give here, no girls.
And you know, if we can go back to that, I would honestly have no problem with the tax director being in there, as long as I could get them to sign an oath. And so under that oath, they know, hey, if you hear me talk about a juvenile record, if you hear someone come and talk about your juvenile records, any of those records have to remain confidential. That's all I would ask
Kelly,
for.
it is your job as the clerk of court to make sure it's confidential. If you have to talk about something like that, walk over somewhere where it's confidential, go into an office, go across into the court facility, and there's all kinds of offices there. You cannot put that, you are charged with making that confidential. It's just Tammy is charged with making conversations with her clients confidential.
Absolutely, but you also need your computer. You also need to be at your computer, you need to be at your computer program. There are certain times where you can't walk away. There are certain times I need to look at my computer, I need to pull up their case, they have questions on it. There's conversations I have on the phone.
We don't really understand why we need to make a proposal, and
You don't have to.
we want to know why you want to move us, I guess, because what is wrong with the way that it is over there? I mean, that's fine putting the tax director in with the recorder, clerk of court where she's at right now. Why do you want the other move made? Or Kelly moved on
It
this?
it was more to stimulate conversation than anything
Well,
else.
you did that.
Very good, very good.
Okay.
And so now we got to the point where now we can have the tax director and the recorder. You just said that, that's fine, okay. We're making progress. Before we weren't making any progress at all because everybody's no, we're not moving. It takes with this group, and it should not take that because we're all pulling for the citizens of Griggs County. It shouldn't take an adversarial stance, but it does. We can't make you people get along with us until we make it to a point where we're going to force you to do something, and then you bend, and then we talk about it, and we reach a compromise. That's how it's supposed to be.
We didn't know you wanted to talk to us. We didn't know you were considering moving us.
We've said it many, many times, and you girls listen religiously to these recordings. So don't tell us that you didn't know nothing
I've
about
never
it.
had anybody specifically ask me, hey, can we put so-and-so in there, can we put so-and-so in there?
We're making progress. We've got the recorder in, and the tax director's position in there now. We're making progress.
Okay. And extension would fit in what is current tax director office.
Yeah,
She said that she would make that work.
Yeah. And also the court spaces outside the courtroom, those two conference rooms and also the multi-purpose room, those are available, you know, as long as court isn't going on, they can go have
The
testing or
multi-purpose room,
whatever.
that's where we're putting the water board, and anybody can go in there. We just got to get this so that everybody's on one
And it's the
sheet.
same thing with conference rooms outside the courtroom. Those are available for individuals to use a lot, as long as there isn't court purposes going on. Otherwise, those are free for...
Dennis isn't in.
Right, because they do have the one conference room also designated as the Veteran Service Office, so.
And would it be correct to say that there would be some central calendar that could be looked at to see when those rooms are available?
Yep, we actually keep a
Lots
calendar.
of space.
Yeah, we keep a calendar in our office too right now that anytime there's court on there, we've got it highlighted. So anybody can come in anytime and view and
And there
those
could be
spaces
one
are
outside
available.
each space too.
Yep, and we
Those are
can,
things that can
absolutely,
be-
that's no problem.
Our whole point is that there's plenty of room in there, and we need to accommodate everything that we have now that should go in there, but there should be room for expansion also. We don't know what might be mandated by the state in future times that we might need space for, and the last thing we want to have to do is try to build on again. So the only other question I have is the county agent on board with your proposal?
Yes.
Okay.
She couldn't be here today, but she wanted. Yeah, she was.
Mhm.
And we did go over and looked at the space together, so, you know, looking at a piece of paper, you can't always gauge how everything looks, so we went over there and viewed the spaces, and everybody was okay with those ideas. And like I said, you know, as far as, you know, sharing the space, absolutely no problem with that. There's that space right when you look at, I don't know if you have or in your mind, you know, there's that space right off to the right when you come in there. That would be you know, we have that designated for something else, but we can certainly move that, and that can be a space.
I think there's 7 workstations, counting the workstations in the storage area in the recorder's office. If I call them correctly.
I don't. Those are some tiny desks, but.
No, there's 7 network connections. He was looking at network connections.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those are gonna be, I'm sure some of them were to be copiers or whatever, you know, just about everything is network connected nowadays, even the phones.
Yeah, like we have separate computers.
The
for-
telephones are gonna be network connected
Yeah.
now, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we have quite a few computers for our office for different purposes, so.
Well, as long as we got you girls here, and we're talking about the new courthouse, what do you think about the idea of making the deputies under one pool, and people use them when you need them, and when they're not needed, they can perform other functions? secretarial services, all kinds of things that need to be done so that we're not having these employees tied to any one function, that they can do whatever is needed in the county.
That's the problem. I won't speak for Kelly because I know clerk of court has those programs that have to be, she can't have all of those deputies knowing all of that, I'm sure, but.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you would have your specific deputy, but during times when there was free time, that deputy had free time, could be used somewhere else. I'm not saying changing the treasurer's deputy with the auditor's
But
deputy.
they'd all have to know every area.
They wouldn't have to know the area.
Okay.
It seems like.
So they can be assigned additional tasks besides what they're doing today. That's what it's about.
And I think that's kind of how we are now. I know if somebody's gonna be gone, hey, can you watch The Office and, take a message if somebody comes in, we do that right now.
Somebody else wrote this email that sent to me this morning now?
Well, I can't do functions in a different building.
No, that doesn't say anything about that. I mean, it sure seemed like you didn't want to be.
No, like I clearly stated in the email, I can only do so much for certain offices. I mean, I've had 3 individuals that have come to turn themselves in for warrants, and I can't handle the warrant money in the initial process. I can't handle those. They have their own special programs where they need somebody from law enforcement to take that warrant out of. If I were to accept somebody's money for a warrant and that warrant wasn't taken out of the system and they went and got pulled over somewhere else and they got arrested, the county could get sued for those. I mean, I'm just saying there's limited things that we can do for those offices. And like Troy said, Troy made a good point on his email that he sent to me is when we're all in the same building, some of those problems will go.
I hope so.
I mean, I just can't help somebody that's in a different building. I don't know when they're going to be there. I don't know if they are there today. I don't know what time they're going to be there. For a state's attorney, I say, here's the number for the office. He doesn't have a secretary, but you can leave him a voicemail. I can give you his email address and you can email him. Sheriff's office, I mean, I had a correctional center email me once because they couldn't get through to somebody. They needed to do a welfare check. I mean, it's limited of what I can do.
Fine, Kelly, I can only respond to what you wrote. And my response to what you wrote is that if you're able to handle those duties now with the people that you have in your office, there must be time to do it. So now we're just talking about delegating the duties. If they're signing your office, why can't we have that person when we get into the scheme of things? Why can't we have those shared duties? We don't want to hire anybody else. It's a huge problem. And the fact that we have an absentee sheriff and is not taking care of this stuff is not something the county commission can deal with. We do not have the power to tell Bob he's got to be in that office. That is between Bob and the people that elected him. We don't have the power to tell Bob's employees that when they're on duty they should be sitting up here waiting for a call than sitting at home. The reason that thing is empty is because the sheriff is not doing his job. Now, if he's putting that burden on you, yes, that is not correct. But the county commissioners don't have the ability to tell you what to do as an elected official, or you what to do as an elected official, or the sheriff. That is between you and the electorate. So we can't solve those problems. That should be you talking to the sheriff.
Well, in a way you can. You could give him money for help so somebody could be there. It's going backwards to what it was before when Paul Hendrickson was here and didn't have.
He's getting paid to be the sheriff, and he's living in Bismarck, girls.
Yes. Oh, I understand that. But even when he was
So we should reward him for that.
No.
That's the
No,
problem.
that's not what I'm saying.
No,
Even when he was here, there were times they couldn't all be
and that was
there.
just my intent of the email, just to let you know, there are some situations going on that
Well, I can
we're trying our best to help remedy these situations,
Okay.
but I'm just limited in what I can do.
And Connie, see that's what I've been trying to avoid is giving more money to solve the problem when I think there's enough time savings within the whole system to solve the problem once we all get into
Once we're in there.
Right. And do we want all 4 of these deputies to be in a secretarial pool that we have to manage? Of course not. Do we want to convey to the elected officials, which we have no control over, that it would be nice if they would help us move forward, yes. So
Yeah.
hopefully the end result is there's no secretarial pool and everybody steps up and takes care of what has to be done. But we've been pushing towards this for quite some time, and the more that things like this keep happening where we don't get it done, the more it moves towards a point where we have to have control over it. And would we manage it? Of course not. You still have your own deputies. All I would say is, in this case, could you please help out for an hour? But
Well, and I just kind of want to throw this out there too, to open the line of communications is, you know, even where our offices are, I don't think anybody's ever would turn you away if you want to come in and ask us questions. I think we hear things secondhand sometimes, and so that kind of lights you up a little bit. Like, well, why don't you talk to me about this? If you have a question about the office, come to us. If you want us suggestions, come to us. We'll tell you. I mean, I think we're open to that. But hearing things secondhand, it kind of starts that fire burning a little bit, and it is upsetting. So,
but I have as county commissioner, I have no control over you. The only control I have, the only control that we have is budgetary. That's it. So you can do whatever you want. If you don't come to work and you want, I mean, we can't control that. If we could, we'd do something about the current situation with the sheriff, but we can't. So the only way we have to motivate you is financially, or lack of finances. That's the only control we have over you, and that's by statute. It's supposed to be that way. Because if I came and told you you got to do this and this and this, you'd say no, I don't, and you'd be right.
I guess my question is, what are you proposing then with the deputies that's different than what is now? Are you just saying that cross training or help? I mean, I think within our individual.
I think what the point is, Kelly,
problem.
is it seems like if something happens and there's something that needs to be done, and everybody looks at each other and shoots us an email and says, well, you guys want to do this? Well, no, I don't want to work at the courthouse. I'm not going to work at the courthouse. Somebody figure it out. And if that can't happen, then we're going to figure it out. And if we figure it out, people might not like what we come up with.
And the only people we can tell
is the deputies. They're the only people that we can control.
So I mean that is the financial lever that we have. We can take your deputy away, and we can put the deputy under our control, and we can loan the deputy to you. And that is the financial control we have. We can't tell you what to do, and we can't tell you to tell your deputy what to do, as long as it's your deputy. But it can be our deputy on loan to you.
I think
So your deputies would have two bosses?
That's the complication.
Yeah, basically, we would say, okay, Kelly, you can use that deputy until we need to use it. Not a very appetizing thing, is it? So let's not go there.
I think under all in the other building,
It'll work itself
all
out.
smooth out.
I mean, and other than this situation, I guess I don't know of any of those other situations. I don't think we've ever had a problem other than this. And it just got to the point where, you know, when I'm getting upset customers yelling at me, that's why I felt the need to say something that, well, what the hell's going on in this county? Well, I don't know what to say.
They need to be yelling them out at Gene.
Well, right. And like I said, I don't have a problem helping them. I'll help them as much as I can, but it's getting to a point where I'm just...
Was there ever a central receptionist
No.
planned in that building? No?
You know, I think they
Yeah,
talked
I
about
don't
it. I think in the beginning, I think they talked about having somebody there, but it was just,
Because it doesn't look like there's space for it.
no, I think they went away from that plan, but I think in the initial plan, they talked about, it would be nice if there was a receptionist there to tell where to go, but I don't think there's
But what
a
would
need for
the difference,
that.
yeah, but what would the difference have been with them coming in the courthouse to a central receptionist versus what department do they need to go to versus is there someone in that department when they get there?
Right.
So who can do what to try to help?
Well, I mean, the Century Code says that the county commissioners are supposed to provide workspace for the elected officials. We can't make them be there. And when you have people that are mad because there's no one at the sheriff's office, you shouldn't blame it on the county commissioner. You should say, well, the sheriff's not here. That's where, because they elected him, not us. We can't do anything about it.
Give them Bob's cell number.
That's exactly what I would do.
Well, I mean, some of the issues are urgent and I need to find somebody. Right now, so I call who's ever on duty, and like I said, with Jamie's office, I just give them a phone number and say there's answer machine.
They are elected officials. I mean, if we're not doing our job, then yes, blame it on us. But for something that we have no control over,
And like I said, I hate to speak for the other offices or the budget, but I mean, from my perspective, it just felt like there needs to be somebody sitting there to handle something.
you're right. But then, I mean, if your objective of sending an email was our same as our objective as moving offices around to get a reaction, you got one.
I didn't want a negative reaction, I just wanted to be aware that I just think of something to be remedied. If you know Jamie's gonna hire a secretary, well, fine, that takes part of the burden away.
But we can't tell Jamie to hire a secretary.
No.
We can't tell Wesley he has to sit in that office. We can't tell Bob that he has to be in that office. We can provide it, that's it. And it would be appreciated if the blame goes where the blame is supposed to be.
How come Jamie's having such a hard time finding a secretary?
I have no idea.
There's just nobody in town that's looking for work.
Well, you have 3 applicants and interview them, and I don't know, never hired anybody.
I see.
And now I think all 3 of them are,
I think there was
doing another,
I think there was 4 applicants.
It's a pretty
And there is somebody.
It's a pretty specialized position, though. You wouldn't want somebody that, I mean,
Right.
I could see what would create more work. than
Definitely needs some
safety.
training for that, so.
I didn't know any cheaper.
Oh.
And when you're ready, can I just put a little in about social services?
And one thing, Connie, I do agree that the DES position should be combined with something. It's just how do you find that special person to do that?
yeah, exactly. I
To
know.
do DES, 911, and VSO.
There you go. Yeah.
I agree with you. It's just we can't even find one person, let alone try to find somebody specialized like that, unless you're volunteering.
Let's try.
'Cause I'm sure if you say you'll do it, they'll get second and 12.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
Before you have time to consider, reconsider.
I think 3, most jobs into a full-time job.
Right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It would sure be more appealing to have a full-time job. than part-time.
Right, I think that is, I would say, some of the problems with, the 2/5, 3/5
Either-
position. It's-
Either need a job or you don't.
Right, and a lot of it, I think, comes down to benefits.
Yeah.
People want, if you're gonna work someplace for 3 days a week, it keeps you from getting full-time benefits somewhere else. So,
And with the tax director, it doesn't work to have somebody that doesn't have a background in that. We've proven that over and over again.
Doesn't have that.
Doesn't have a background, that you can't train someone to do
It's a
that.
tough position, it really is, it's not for the faint of heart.
I mean, eventually someone will come up because we have people being trained to be assessors because of states. Sooner or later, somebody that's trained to be an assessor will say, okay, yeah, I'd like to have that position. It's just, there's a void here right now. Because there are people within the county that are being trained to be assessors and eventually they'll probably step up to want to do that.
Tammy.
I just wanted to make a couple of clarifications because I did listen to the minutes. These last ones because I wanted to understand where we were coming from. And I just wanted to make a couple of comments. When you do look at the drawings that I created, you can see why I am not an architect, why I work at social services. The only thing that we need is one solid wall. The other transition walls that you see in our rendering or those type of, we already own portable walls that stand and can be moved that we would bring with us. we would bring all of our current desks and furniture. We're not asking for anything new to be purchased for us. We're looking to bring everything that we have. We have that transitional wall that we can, the countertop, we can bring that over. Like I said, we have freestanding walls to do all, the partitions we need. We just are asking for one solid wall. And then one other thing that I had written in there is that there is the one storage room next to where we're looking, in the same space that you're looking to give us. And there's shelves on the walls that if those can be used elsewhere, awesome, because we'd like to use that room, with a table in it that we would bring.
In the northwest corner of that office space.
I'm directionally challenged, but I think you're right, 'cause it's right across from the bathroom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's currently shelving on both walls.
Yeah, it's big enough for an office.
Yeah, and if somebody would like those shelves, awesome. They can sure take those, and we could use that for a room with no windows. And it would definitely meet all the needs that we have. Like I said, we're not asking for anything other than one solid wall. Unless there's any other questions about that. I think there was maybe misunderstanding when you looked at my drawings. We were trying to show that those spaces would work really well.
Yeah, because I think on the Play-Doh, it said 6 private offices are needed. So I immediately said, 6 private
Oh,
offices.
I see what you mean. It said, due to the confidential nature of social services, separate offices are needed for each employee with room for 2 to 4 clients. I see what you're getting at.
And I figured that meant a solid wall.
Okay, no, we just need the one, and then the space that you had offered us would work very well.
Okay.
And we included the money for the solid wall in the budget for this year.
Thank you. And then, like I said, if you'd like to take that shelving and use it elsewhere, that would be great.
Okay. Any questions for Tammy? Anything else? Anybody?
Nope.
So does that wall need to get built before the carpet goes in?
We built the wall for Bob, we built that after the carpet went in, didn't we? It seemed to work okay, I think they just set it right on top of the carpet.
It's set right on top of it, either way, it doesn't make much difference.
Okay. Okay.
Move we adjourn?
Moved by Dale, we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.